So there I was, lying in my crappy mud brick room, staring at a ceiling that looked like termites had been throwing house parties for decades, when it hit me. I'm back. Like, back. 1983. October. The Swamp Village. The whole deal. Before I could even process my existential crisis, I heard my niece Wenwen outside absolutely roasting some dude at the door. That girl has zero chill, and I respect it. Then the door swung open, and in walked Lu Mingliang, village mooch extraordinaire, holding a bottle of cheap booze and a handful of peanuts like he was bringing me a five-star dinner. This guy had a sixth sense for payday. Forget calendars. Lu Mingliang's stomach was the most accurate clock in the village. Every single time I got paid, this cockroach showed up faster than flies on watermelon. "Brother, let's drink till we drop," he said, making himself comfortable in MY room, on MY bed, like he owned the place. But see, here's the thing. I already lived this movie once. Last time around, I handed this clown my money like a complete donkey. He owed me 60 yuan and never paid back a single fun. 60 yuan. That's like 150 jin of rice. I could have fed my whole family for ages, but no, I gave it to a guy whose idea of financial planning was gambling away his own farmland in a card game. So when he casually dropped, "Hey, spot me 20 bucks, I looked at him like he'd just asked to borrow my kidneys. 20? A jin of rice costs 13 fun, you shameless leech. And what about the 60 you already owe me? You should have seen his face. The man short-circuited. His whole playbook was flatter Xiaodong, collect cash, but knew me wasn't having it. When sweet talk didn't work, this genius actually tried to search my pockets like I was a vending machine. So I kicked him. Just boot. Right off to the side. He stomped to the door doing his dramatic exit routine, fully expecting me to chase after him yelling, "Wait, brother, take my money," because old me was that pathetic, couldn't stand anyone calling me stingy. He walked out slowly. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, getting slower and slower, practically moonwalking, waiting for me to cave. I didn't say a word. His brain broke. He stood at the gate screaming that I was a cheapskate, that our brotherhood was dead, that none of the boys would ever talk to me again. Real Oscar-worthy tantrum. Then I yelled back about my 60 yuan, and that man sprinted away like I'd released the dogs. Wenwen saw the whole show from the well, where she was washing up. She wandered over looking at me like I'd grown a second head. "Since when do you have a spine?" Fair question, honestly. Because here's what haunts me. My dad and 4 older brothers died in a flood 2 years ago, trying to save the village during a levee break. 5 men, gone in one night. Left behind 3 sisters-in-law, 3 kids, and me, the useless baby brother. My sister-in-law Shun Winley held the whole family together while I was out on a state dredging boat earning 30-something yuan a month and blowing every last fun on impressing strangers. Buying random guys sodas and snacks like some idiot celebrity. Never sent a single coin home to the people who actually mattered. Looking at Wenwen now, all I felt was shame piled on shame. But that was the old me. The new me already kicked one parasite out tonight, and I meant every word when I told her, "You guys matter more to me than anything." No more playing the generous fool for people who'd forget my name if I went broke. Which, by the way, I literally did go broke last time. So, lesson learned. The hard way. Twice. I pulled out my cash stash, 40 yuan total. Last month's wages plus a 10 yuan severance bonus from the dredging boat that just fired me. And for the first time in either of my lives, I did something revolutionary. I gave money to my actual family. 30 yuan to Wenwen for her mom to pay off debts. 5 for my living expenses. 1 yuan for candy for the little ones. And 1 yuan so Wenwen could buy some face cream because, and I say this with love, the girl is 18 and her skin situation was not attracting suitors. Wenwen stood there looking at me like I'd just sprouted wings and started speaking French. Her brain was doing the math, and it wasn't adding up. This is the same uncle who used to come home without a single coin and eat one of their chickens. Now I'm handing over 37 out of 40. Something was deeply wrong, and she knew it. "Did Fong Lu dump you?" she asked. "Or did you get fired and you're bribing us so we don't kick you out?" "Ah, Fong Lu. My girlfriend, my niece's best friend who only dated me because I had a government job. The same girl who'd scratched claw marks into Wenwen's neck during a fight. After which I, genius that I was, said absolutely nothing in my niece's defense. No wonder Wenwen thought I was useless. I tried to have a heartfelt moment. Told her I'd been a fool, that I'd take care of them from now on, that we'd eat meat together someday. She looked at me like I was possessed, got actual goosebumps, and speed walked away clutching the money like a shoplifter leaving a store. Her internal logic was solid. Grab the cash before this lunatic changes his mind. She was already planning to hide it from future stupid me. Smart girl. Honestly, she should have been running this family all along. So I'm lying in bed processing my guilt when this tiny human comes zombie shuffling into my room. Little Ñoño, my second brother's daughter, 5 years old, half asleep, climbed right into my bed and curled up against me like a kitten. Then she hit me with, "Uncle, Ñoño's tummy is so hungry. Feel it. It's flat like a bean." She pulled up her patched-up shirt, and I swear my heart just cracked in half. The kid was skin and bones. I'd been out there buying sodas for random dudes while this little girl was going to bed hungry. If self-slapping actually solved problems, I'd have beaten myself into another reincarnation right there. I promised her fish tomorrow. Her eyes lit up like tiny lanterns. She kissed my face and demanded to come along. How do you say no to that? You don't. Next morning, I was out the door at dawn with a fishing net, a bucket, and a rake. Ñoño was bouncing behind me like a baby kangaroo who'd just been told Christmas was real. She'd always been jealous watching other kids go fishing with their dads. Now she had her uncle, and that was close enough. We hit the irrigation ditch near the village. My nephew Hao Hao, 7 years old, permanent snot situation, spotted us while doing iron hoop races with the other village kids and came running over. After I'd been scraping through mud for a solid while with zero results, Hao Hao wiped his nose on his sleeve and delivered his expert analysis. "Uncle, everyone already picked this ditch clean. We should go to the reed marshes across the river. Tons of fish there." He wasn't wrong. Across the 300-meter river was a massive wetland absolutely loaded with fish left behind after the summer floods. Only problem? You need a boat. We couldn't afford a boat. And nobody was going to give us a ride because, and this is just cold rural math, why would they waste boat space on a grown man when they could carry an extra 100 gene of fish instead? I told him we'd build a boat someday when I made money. He sighed the sigh of a 7-year-old who's heard, "someday," too many times, grabbed his little cousin's hand, and trudged along behind me with the bucket. Meanwhile, half the village was gawking at me digging through ditches like some kind of swamp creature. The gossip mill was spinning at full power. Isn't that the government boat worker? Since when does he get his hands dirty? Must have gotten fired. That's why he's acting humble. Thanks to my good buddy Lu Ming Liang. The whole village already knew about my termination before breakfast. Couldn't even wait 12 hours to trash talk me. What a pal. I ignored them all and kept staring into the mud. These snakehead fish are sneaky little jerks. They're literally the same color as the mud, basically invisible unless you know what to look for. Then, after what felt like an eternity of slopping through muck, I spotted it. A tiny mouth going blub 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 in the sludge, breathing like it thought nobody could see it. I ditched the rake, slammed both hands down into the mud, and boom, a massive snakehead thrashing its tail, spraying mud everywhere like a brown firework. How, Ñoño, we got a big one, first victory of my second life. And it was covered in mud, just like me. So the kids and I hauled our catch back to shore. 3, maybe 4 gene of snakehead fish, a monster by ditch standards. This thing was flopping around like it had somewhere important to be. My nephew Hao Hao, age 7, grabbed a rock, bonked the fish on the head to knock it out, then ripped some vines off a nearby bush to thread through its gills like a handle. Just casual wilderness survival skills from a first grader. I stood there watching this kid work like a tiny professional fisherman and thought, yeah, poverty speedruns childhood real fast. Kids 40 years from now wouldn't know which end of a fish the mouth is on. We kept searching, but the ditch was officially fished out. I did grab every snail and river mussel I could find along the way, though. Half a bucket's worth. Not glamorous, but hey, that's 2 side dishes right there. Back home, everyone was out in the fields harvesting rice, so it was just me and the kids. I cleaned the fish, picked the snail meat, shucked the mussels, grabbed some green peppers and garlic leaves from the garden, and fired up the old mud stove. Then I opened the oil container, and my soul left my body. Almost empty. Just one sad little chunk of pork fat sitting in there like the last survivor of an apocalypse. The rice jar? Basically a decorative empty container at this point. So here's me, cooking on maximum poverty difficulty. I heated the wok, rubbed that one precious chunk of fat around the pan to get a little shine going, then put it right back. That one piece of fat had to last the family days. I was rationing salt like it was gold dust, tapping the tiny spoon with the precision of a brain surgeon. But somehow, magic happened. The fish soup came out white and fragrant. The stir-fried snail meat was popping with chili, and the whole yard smelled like an actual restaurant. The two kids were draped over the stove, drooling like cartoon characters, smelling pie on a windowsill. I gave them each half a bowl of actual rice, not watery porridge, real rice, because those babies hadn't eaten since yesterday, and I refused to let them suffer another meal. Yes, I used up basically all the rice in the house. Future me problem. Current me had hungry children. Now here's where it gets dramatic. My sister-in-law, Winley, came storming back from the fields, absolutely nuclear. Turns out the village brigade showed up at harvest time and confiscated all the rice they'd just cut, every single grain from 3 acres, because the family owed back taxes from the years when my sisters-in-law were still learning how to farm after their husbands died. They'd finally figured out farming this year. We're about to have a small surplus for once, and the brigade just swooped in and took everything right off the field. Winley nearly threw hands with them right there in the paddy. So the whole crew came trudging home. Winley fuming, second sister-in-law Shiua stressed, little sister-in-law Shinla trying to calm everyone down, Wenwen hungry and annoyed. Just a parade of misery heading for the front door. Then they smelled it. They rounded the corner, and there it was, the old termite-eaten table set up on the threshing ground, a big pot of fish. Soup in the center, plates of stir-fried snail and mussel meat on the sides, and 2 little kids going absolutely ham on dinner like it was a royal banquet. Every jaw in the family hit the floor. Wenwen was frozen, staring at the food, swallowing hard. The sisters-in-law exchanged looks that clearly said, "Are we being pranked?" Nyunyo looked up with her little rice-covered face. "Sister, Uncle made the food. He caught a huge fish, me. I made food." The guy who had never once in his entire life touched a spatula in this house. The guy who'd come home, sit around like a landlord, wait for the women to cook for him while they were exhausted from the fields, inhale his meal, drop the chopsticks, wipe his mouth, and walk out. That guy just served a 3-course fish dinner. I brought out bowls of rice for everyone. Sit down, eat, more silent staring. I could practically hear their brains short-circuiting. Second sister-in-law spotted the white rice and immediately panicked. "Why did you cook actual rice? Porridge would have been fine." Winley elbowed her fast. They were clearly under some kind of "don't spook the changed man" protocol. I didn't sit down for a proper meal. Grabbed some soup, a couple pieces of fish, ate standing up, then slung a bag of rapeseed cake over my shoulder and headed for the door. "Where are you going?" Winley called after me. "I used all the rice for this meal. There's nothing left for dinner. I saw fish near the sluice gate earlier, gonna go catch some." The rapeseed cake was pig feed. I was going to use pig food as fish bait because we couldn't afford actual bait. That's the level we were operating at. I grabbed the fishing net and left. Behind me, I could hear the family conference starting. Second sister-in-law, what is happening? Did getting fired break his brain? Winley, genuinely worried. He's acting strange. Nobody provoke him. Especially you, Wenwen. Wenwen, internally screaming. I'm your biological daughter. Why am I always the suspect? They were legitimately afraid I was having some kind of mental breakdown. Which, fair. From their perspective, a guy who'd been a selfish freeloader for years suddenly turned into super uncle overnight. That's either character growth or a psychotic episode, and they weren't sure which one to bet on. Then second sister-in-law took a bite of the fish. Her eyes went wide. Taste buds detonated. How? How is this so good? Yeah. Turns out when you cook with actual love instead of actual oil, it still slaps. Who knew? So I headed to the sluice gate with my casting net and a bag of rapeseed cake, which, for the record, is pig feed. I was using pig food as fish bait. That's the financial situation we were working with. Naturally, every villager walking by had commentary. That idiot thinks he can fish at the deep end? He's just pretending to work so his sisters-in-law don't yell at him. Lost his iron rice bowl government job? Absolutely hopeless, that one. You know, real supportive community vibes. I crumbled the rapeseed cake into the shallow side to create a feeding spot and waited. Then this guy Wang Chong showed up from the other side of the sluice, carrying a fish spear on his back like some kind of aquatic warrior. He took one look at my casting net and immediately started with the trash talk. You think you can catch anything with that in water this deep? I ignored him. Grabbed the net, did my best dramatic wind-up, and threw it. The net hit the water looking like a crumpled napkin. Wang Chang nearly choked laughing. Bro, the net is supposed to open into a circle. You just scared every fish in a 50-meter radius. Fair. That was embarrassing. I pulled it back. 2 crawfish and some dead leaves. Spectacular haul. Meanwhile, Captain Spearfish over there spotted a carp breathing at the surface, crouched down like a hunting cat, and, thwack, nailed it in one shot. Pulled up a 1-gene carp wiggling on his barbed spear. See? That's how you catch fish, he announced, radiating the energy of a man who peaked in exactly this moment. I said nothing, just kept throwing that net. Again, and again, and again, dozens of times. Each throw getting a little better. Wang Chang was watching me like I was the funniest show on television. But here's the thing about me. I'm stubborn as a mule with a grudge. And somewhere around throw number 40, the net finally opened into a proper circle. Meanwhile, I'd been collecting shrimp from the failed attempts. Not nothing. Shrimp stir-fried with pickled radish from the jar at home? That's a dish. I was mentally writing menus while this guy was laughing at me. Wang Chang caught a few more fish with his spear, a couple crucian carp to go with his earlier catch, maybe 2 or 3 gene total. Not bad. He wandered back over, glanced in my bucket at the pile of shrimp, and offered to teach me spear fishing with the condescending kindness of a man who has already decided you're hopeless. No thanks, I said, eyes locked on the water where I'd dropped my bait. Bubbles were rising. Lots of bubbles. The fish from the deep bottom were coming up to investigate. The trap was working. Wang Chang was still chatting. Told me Lu Mingliang had been running around telling everyone I got fired for stealing from the work unit. Not just the village. He'd specifically gone to my girlfriend Feng Lu's house and told her parents. My good brother, my ride or die, went out of his way to destroy me before lunch. Wang Chang also casually dropped that Feng Lu had actually tried to flirt with him first, because the man could spear fish like a god, and that apparently counts as attractive in wetland villages. But she jumped ship to me the second I got the government boat job. What a romantic origin story for our relationship. I thanked him for the heads up. Then, move. I'm pulling the net. He cracked up again. You're still doing this? You spent all afternoon and caught some shrimp. Just give up, man. But I gotta say, watching you standing there all serious with the net is comedy gold. You look like a tiny version of Old Wu. Old Wu being the village's legendary fishing god, which made this comparison basically sarcasm. I yanked the net. The second it started coming up, I felt it. The net went heavy. Like, something is actually in here heavy. Splash, splash, splash. The shallow water erupted. Wang Chang's laughter died in his throat. Wait, you actually got the bottom fish? I couldn't help grinning. It's called technique. Dragged the net onto shore and opened it up. Wang Chang's eyes went full cartoon mode. A silver carp, 3 or 4 gene. Not valuable, but big and meaty. A catfish, over a gene. 5 or 6 palm-sized crucian carp. Plus more snails, more shrimp, tangled in the weeds. Wang Chang was doing math out loud like a shopping calculator. That's 4, 5 gene in one throw. I started sorting. Tossed the tiny junk fish back. Too small, not worth it. Kept everything useful. Cleared out the rotten weeds carefully because you never know what's hiding. And then, at the very bottom of the net, tangled in the last clump of debris, I saw it. A belly. Tiger-striped. Thick. Wang Chang saw it at the same exact moment. Holy, the man absolutely lost his composure. Because we both knew what a tiger-striped belly in this lake meant, and it was not a normal fish. One net. One throw. And I might have just pulled up something that would make every fisherman in the village lose their minds. Not bad for a guy who couldn't even open his net 2 hours ago. Mandarin fish. Wang Chang screamed it like he'd just witnessed a miracle. And honestly, he kind of had. Mandarin fish, the Rolls-Royce of freshwater fish. Over 2 yuan per gene, while garbage fish like silver carp go for maybe 20 or 30 fun. The big silver carp I just caught looked impressive but was basically the fish equivalent of loose change. This one stripy-bellied beauty was worth more than the entire rest of my haul combined. I was thrilled. This single fish could buy several gene of rice for the family. Lucky throw, I said, grinning like an idiot. Let me toss a few more nets and see what happens. Now here's where Wang Chang got creative. You could practically see the gears turning in his head as he stared at my bucket like a hungry cat watching a goldfish bowl. Hey so, he started, doing his best impression of a caring friend. I know Fong Lu found out you got fired, but don't worry. She and I are pretty close. I could put in a good word for you. Smooth things over. I threw another net. Oh yeah? Since when are you this generous? He glanced at the mandarin fish again, practically drooling. Just give me that mandarin fish, and I'll guaranteed fix things with Fong Lu. Deal? Silence. I turned around and looked at him. Slowly. Up and down. The kind of look that makes a man's arm hair stand up. He got nervous. What? Don't you care what Fong Lu thinks? Isn't she important to you? I pulled my net in, calm as a lake on a windless day. Important? She's not even as important as this fish. What? He started choking on air. You? The guy who used to basically get on his knees begging Fong Lu for attention? That guy is saying she's worth less than a fish. That was the old me. This life? The only people who matter are my sisters-in-law and my nieces and nephew. Everything else is smoke. Then I yanked the net out of the water. Splash, splash, splash. Wang Chong helped me open the net, and then his soul visibly departed his body. 3 more mandarin fish. 3. You raided their hometown. You found the mandarin fish family reunion. The man was experiencing genuine emotional distress, watching all this premium fish that wasn't his. His eyes were literally turning red. Please, release them, he begged, suddenly an environmentalist. Think about it. Their lives are so hard. They deserve freedom. Be merciful. I kicked him sideways. Release your sister. If I release these fish, what does my family eat tonight? He completely lost it. Grabbed his spear and started jabbing frantically at my fishing spot like a madman. Stab, stab, stab. Where are they? This doesn't make sense. You get fish every throw. Of course, he scared everything away with his psychotic stabbing rampage. My carefully baited spot was now a war zone. No more fish were coming anywhere near this area tonight. But honestly, I didn't even care. I looked up at the sky and the sunset had painted everything gold. The trees, the old brick houses, the whole village glowing like it was dipped in honey. Beautiful, I thought. And for the first time since coming back, I actually felt it. Then I heard the sound of an iron hoop rolling on dirt, and my nephew Hao Hao came sprinting over. Uncle, did you get fish? Come look, he leaned into the bucket. 4 fat mandarin fish thrashing around angrily. Holy sh, 4 mandarin fish. Uncle, we're rich. I smacked him on the head. Where'd you learn that language? You're 7. Hee hee, sorry uncle. This kid. I remembered something from my previous life. Even though the nieces and nephew resented me for being a deadbeat uncle, Hao Hao still had my back in weird ways. Once, some guy in the village called me a piece of trash. Hao Hao was right there playing cards under the old tree. Without a word, he walked over and kicked the man into a ditch, then went right back to his card game. Never mentioned it. They hated me, but they also loved me. And I'd wasted that entire lifetime being too stupid to deserve it. Not this time. Let's go home, kid. Are we eating them all? 1 for dinner. 3 we trade for oil and rice. Deal? I'll carry the bucket. On the way back, Hao Hao spotted Wang Chong still furiously spearing at empty water and yelled, Brother Chong, did you catch anything? Wang Chong, already on the verge of an aneurysm, whipped around. I'm the same age as your uncle. Don't call me brother. Hao Hao looked at me all confused. Was that wrong? Yep, I said, picking up the bucket. Technically, if you trace the family tree through his great-grandmother's side, he's distantly related to us, which means by village seniority rules, he should be calling you uncle. Wang Chong exploded. You that, he couldn't argue though. In rural village genealogy, if you pull hard enough on any branch, everyone's related to everyone, and the seniority math gets absolutely insane. If he pushed the issue, he'd end up being my grandson. Nobody wants to go there. Walking home, I watched flocks of wild ducks flying overhead toward the reed marshes and started scheming. The kids couldn't eat fish every single day. Those marshes were basically a giant hunting ground. Ducks, birds, more fish. No wildlife protection laws in 1983. The whole wetland was essentially an all-you-can-catch buffet if you had a boat. Also, the little hills behind the village were crawling with wild pheasants at night. City people paid good money for those. Catch enough pheasants, sell them, buy a boat. Get the boat, hit the marshes. Hit the marshes, become a 10,000 yuan household. Simple 5-year plan, starting from zero, powered by pig feed bait and bare hands. Back home, Wenwen was picking cotton by herself. She ran over, saw the 4 mandarin fish in the bucket, and nearly fainted from excitement. Where did you get these? The ditch is completely dead. Sluice gate. Where's your mom? And everyone. She told me they'd gone to Annie Xiaozue's house to beg for piecework from her factory. Because after the brigade took all their harvested rice for back taxes this morning, the family had literally nothing left. No grain, no money, no plan for the rest of the year. My sisters-in-law were out there trying to find hand assembly work so the family wouldn't starve through winter. While I stood here holding 4 premium fish like some kind of swamp lottery winner. The math was clear. 1 fish feeds us tonight. 3 fish buy us rice and oil. And tomorrow I start hunting pheasants. Because you don't build an empire sitting in an empty ditch waiting for miracles. I noticed Wenwen scratching at her wrists while picking cotton, all sliced up from cutting rice stalks in the field. Bleeding, itchy, painful. I told her to go wash them with clean water. She looked at me like I'd just spoken ancient Greek. Since when does her useless uncle notice things like that? Meanwhile, Hao was helping me sort fish, which really meant standing there being 7 years old. Wenwen grabbed him by the ear to come pump well water for her. That kid screamed bloody murder the whole way. You're only bullying me because you're bigger. Just wait till I grow up. Classic younger sibling energy. She did not care. I weighed the smallest mandarin fish, 8 liang, just under a jin. Took it to Wang Fugui's house, the village's one rich family. Now, mandarin fish goes for 2.5 yuan per jin in town. This fish should have been worth about 2 yuan. But it was already evening, the market was closed, and my family literally had 0 rice in the jar. So I ate the loss, sold it for 1 yuan 60 fun, and traded at another house for 9 jin of rice. Beggars can't negotiate. That's poverty math for you. Got home, cooked the rice, stewed the big silver carp with dried string beans in the broth. Then I realized, 7 mouths, 1 fish isn't enough. So I ran to the pond out front, shoved my arm elbow deep into the mud, and yanked out some wild lotus root. This wasn't your regular grocery store lotus root either. This was East Tingu's specialty lotus root. Crispy, naturally sweet, absolutely elite. Stir-fried lotus root slices with just a splash of the cooking liquid over white rice. You could demolish 2 bowls on the sauce alone. Then I grabbed some water chestnuts from the same pond, shelled out the nuts, stir-fried those too. Back and forth, back and forth. By the time I was done, it was dark again. No electricity in our house, so Wenwen lit the kerosene lamp and we waited. I scooped myself a tiny bowl of rice, poured a little lotus root soup on top, and sat on the doorstep eating in silence. Wenwen was watching me from inside, and she absolutely could not handle it anymore. What is wrong with you? You've been acting like a depressed turtle for 2 days. You cooked all this food, and you're eating soup on rice? She had a point. The old me used to fight a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old for chicken legs at the dinner table. 0 shame. Now I'm sitting in the dark eating broth like a monk, and it was freaking her out. She tried to bring me actual food. I waved her off. Save it for everyone else. I'm full. Then I told her to have her mom sell the 2 remaining mandarin fish at the market tomorrow, and that I'd be heading up the back mountain at dawn to try catching wild pheasants I'd heard calling earlier. That broke her. What are you planning? You're definitely scheming something. Tell me. I just want you guys to eat well and not go hungry. Liar. You're up to something. Tell me right now. I smiled at her and went to bed. She literally stood outside my door, stomping her feet in frustration. But what was she gonna do? Kick it down? Then my sisters-in-law came home. Bad news from their trip. The factory barely had any work to hand out. 3 women dragging themselves back, already mentally preparing for a dinner of plain sweet potatoes. Instead, they walked into a yard full of fish stew aroma, a table of dishes, and 2 gorgeous mandarin fish doing laps in a bucket. After the kids explained everything, my sisters-in-law went into full crisis mode. But not the, yay food, kind. The, oh no, he's lost his mind, kind. They held a whispered emergency family meeting. The diagnosis: Xiaodong has clearly been psychologically damaged by getting fired and is now overcompensating. We promised his dead brothers we'd look after him. We must intervene. But who should go talk to him? They debated like generals planning a military operation. Big sister-in-law Wenli? Too loud. Might accidentally yell him into a deeper depression. Rejected. Second sister-in-law Sheiyue? Too honest. Can't articulate feelings well. Would probably just stand there awkwardly. Rejected. Little sister-in-law Xinla? Gentle personality, educated background. Her dad was a former intellectual. She can do feelings. Approved. Send her in. So the entire family crept to my door like a SWAT team. Shinla knocked softly. Xiaodong, are you asleep? Almost. Oh. Okay, sleep well then. That was it. That was her entire counseling session. Big sister-in-law shoved her aside. That's your idea of helping? Move. Let me do this. She planted herself at the door and tried. Really tried. To sound gentle, which for Winley was like asking a truck horn to whisper. Xiaodong, it's your big sister-in-law. I know I've been busy and haven't checked on you. Losing the government job is not the end of the world, okay? We have hands and feet. We can work. We can feed you. Please don't. Think dark thoughts. She thought I was suicidal. They all thought I was suicidal. The whole family was outside my door having a collective panic attack because I'd been too nice for 2 days. I lay there on my side, staring at the wall, and my chest felt like someone was sitting on it. They didn't know. They couldn't know. The reason I was acting like a silent weirdo wasn't depression. It was shame. Pure, gut-destroying shame. Because I couldn't look these women in the face knowing what I'd done to them in my previous life. In that life, I'd started dating some girl from the next village who demanded a brick house, separate from my sisters-in-law, plus a full set of wedding gifts. Bicycle, sewing machine, radio watch, the works. And when my sisters-in-law said they couldn't afford it, the guy they'd been feeding and housing and protecting since his brothers died, I screamed at them. Told them they married into the Chung family, so they owed me. Said they had to find the money for my wedding. That memory makes me want to reach back through time and strangle myself. And now these same women were standing outside my door, worried sick that I might hurt myself, planning interventions, sending their gentlest member to comfort me. After everything. After I gave them nothing but grief, and they gave me nothing but grace. I'm fine. Go eat dinner. I'm sleeping. I couldn't say more than that without my voice cracking. And a man who just caught 4 mandarin fish doesn't get to cry in his termite-eaten bed. But between you and me, I absolutely did. But before I get to the pheasant hunt, let me tell you why I was lying there staring at the wall, unable to breathe. See, in my first life, my sisters-in-law actually scraped together the money for my wedding demands. Every single yuan. And the cost? Little sister-in-law Shinla, the gentle, educated one who just tried to counsel me through the door. She married the village's old bachelor to bring back 100 yuan for my wedding fund. That man beat her. Every day. Until she couldn't take it anymore and walked into the river. Gone. Second sister-in-law Sheyue, the honest, quiet one who just stopped Big Sis from barging into my room. She took a construction job to pay off debts I'd created. Fell from a building site. Gone. Big sister-in-law Wenli, the loud, fierce one crying outside my door right now worried I might hurt myself. After my wedding, I kept being a useless gambling bum. Racked up huge debts. When the creditors came to seize the brick house SHE helped pay for, she fought them. A mob beat her to death. 3 women. All dead. All because of me. And right now, in this timeline, they were standing outside my door debating who should comfort me. Worrying about my feelings. Planning how to take care of me. So yeah, I wasn't depressed. I was drowning in guilt so thick I could chew it. Every nice thing I did for this family wasn't charity. It was the minimum installment on a debt I could never repay. I told Winley through the door to sell the mandarin fish tomorrow and buy some pork. The kids needed nutrition. She nearly broke down the door trying to come in, crying that she couldn't let anything happen to me because she'd promised my dead brothers. Wenwen, bless her suspicious little heart, piped up, Mom, you're all overthinking this. What if he's just scheming to take something from the family again? Shut your mouth, Chung Wenwen. He is your uncle. Winley turned on her daughter like a cannon. Wenwen started crying. Why am I always the punching bag? That girl gets 0 breaks. Honestly, future me needs to make it up to her specifically. Anyway, 3 a.m. Back mountain. The hills behind our village were barely hills, more like bumpy ground with ambitions. Low shrubs everywhere, no big trees, and at night, full of wild pheasants. I wasn't the only genius who heard them calling yesterday. Wang Chong was already up there, and he was furious. Turns out he'd gone to Old Wu, the village's legendary fishing and hunting master, nicknamed the Fish God, and paid him with that big carp he'd speared yesterday. In exchange, Old Wu shared his secret pheasant catching technique. Wild pheasants are skittish and dumb. If you get close and bark like a dog, They'll panic and shove their heads into the ground like ostriches. Then you just walk over and pick them up. Wang Chong spent the entire night crawling through bushes barking like a dog. Every single time, the pheasants immediately flew away. He didn't catch one feather. His throat was destroyed from 9 hours of barking. Old Wu scammed him out of a perfectly good carp for the most useless advice in hunting history. That 80-year-old fraud. He was screaming into the darkness. He has no conscience. I'm 19. How do you rob a teenager like that? Then through the moonlight he spotted me. Is that Cheng Xiaodong? Him? Catching pheasants? Please. What's next? Fish teaching birds to fly? But that little voice in his head, the one that panics every time a brother might succeed, kicked in. What if he actually catches one? So instead of going home to sleep, he followed me. Like a suspicious raccoon. He watched me scattering rice on the ground and almost had an aneurysm. Is he throwing away rice? His family can barely eat and he's wasting rice on dirt. After I finished spreading a full gene of rice. Yes, a whole gene. Enough to fill Nyonyo's belly twice. No pressure. I hid behind a dirt mound and waited. Then Wang Chong's face materialized 2 inches from my ear in the dark. You know, if you don't set a trap, just throwing rice isn't going to. I slapped him across the face on pure reflex. He was stunned. What is wrong with you sneaking up on someone at 3 a.m. whispering in their ear like a ghost? He thought about it. Fair. But if I was a ghost, shouldn't you have screamed and run? Why did you just slap me? Because, buddy, I've literally died and been reborn. Ghosts are an upgrade from my actual life experience. But I couldn't exactly explain that. Then, movement. 3 pheasant shadows emerged from the bushes. Shut up, I whispered. Targets acquired. Wang Chong recognized them immediately. Those 3. That's the family I've been chasing all night. I barked at them for 9 hours. The pheasants were careful. Paranoid, even. They'd take 2 steps. Stop. Crane their necks around scanning for threats. Take 2 more steps. It took them 15 minutes to reach the rice. Even while eating, they'd peck once. Look up. Peck once. Look up. Professional-grade anxiety. I was sweating bullets. That was a whole gene of rice sitting there. If this didn't work, I'd basically thrown away 2 meals for nothing. Behind me, Wang Chong was already composing his "I told you so" speech. The pheasants ate every last grain. Wang Chong was mentally preparing to laugh, and then all 3 birds started wobbling, swaying side to side like tiny drunk uncles leaving a wedding banquet. They plopped down right there on the ground, eyes half closed, completely zonked. The rice was soaked in liquor. Well, the dregs of fermented rice wine from the family's pickling jar gets birds absolutely hammered. I crept forward. Wang Chong's jaw was somewhere near his kneecaps. The pheasants sensed me coming. They flapped their wings trying to fly, got maybe 6 inches off the ground before crash-landing face first, like feathery little helicopters running out of fuel. I grabbed one in each hand, tucked the third under my arm. 3 fat, drunk, beautiful wild pheasants. Wang Chong stood there in the moonlight, a man who'd spent 9 hours barking at birds for 0 results, watching me waltz away with 3 of them after sitting behind a dirt pile for 30 minutes. The look on his face? Worth more than the pheasants. Wang Chong came scrambling after me like a puppy chasing a mail truck. Did you put pesticide in the rice? I hefted my 3 drunk pheasants, roughly 6 or 7 gene total. At 3 yuan per gene in town, that's serious money. My mood was excellent. No pesticide. They'd be dead if I used pesticide. Then why can't they fly? Oh, he wanted my secret technique. The ancient art of soaking rice in alcohol and letting birds drink themselves unconscious. Simple, elegant, devastating. But was I going to share this information with my direct competition? Absolutely not. Rule number 1 of rural hustling. Starve the competition, feed yourself. If Wang Chong learns this trick, suddenly every pheasant on the mountain has 2 hunters instead of 1. Bad for business. Sorry, can't tell you. Big Brother Dong. I'll call you Big Brother. Please. Actually, by village seniority rules, you should be calling me Grandpa. We're not even blood related. That doesn't count. Then I spotted something in the moonlight. A yellowish shape slintering through the grass, hunting for food. Freeze. Weasel. Wang Chong looked over and immediately hit the ground like someone yelled, "Bomb." It's a yellow spirit. We're doomed. See. Around here, weasels were basically treated like tiny furry demons. Everyone called them yellow bamboo tubes. and believed they were supernatural creatures that cursed anyone who crossed them. See one at night? Walk the other direction. Touch one. Congratulations, you've got bad luck for life. Hit one. It'll bring its entire weasel army to your house for revenge. Superstition ran deep in 1983. I grabbed a rock and started creeping toward it. Wang Chong nearly had a stroke. Chung Xiaodong, do you have a death wish? Don't let it see you. Then, with zero shame. Hey, why don't you hand me those 3 pheasants? I'll hold them for you. For safety, I turned around slowly. Your scheme is so obvious the abacus beads are hitting me in the face. If I give you those birds, am I ever seeing them again? He did an awkward little laugh. Yeah, thought so. I hurled the rock at the weasel. Whoosh. The little demon dodged like a ninja and vanished into the bushes before I could blink. These things make pheasants look like amateurs in the paranoia department. Damn. Missed. Wang Chong rushed over like I'd just defused a bomb wrong. You actually attacked a yellow spirit? What if it brings its whole clan to your house tomorrow? My internal response. Please do. 1 weasel pelt goes for 7 or 8 yuan. Bring the whole family. Bring cousins. I'll make a coat. By the 1990s, people in our village would stop being superstitious and hunt these things so aggressively, they'd nearly go extinct and need legal protection. But right now, in 1983, everyone was too scared to touch them, which meant the hills were basically a free-range weasel fur farm that nobody was using. Mental note: figure out how to trap weasels. At this point, I was in full survival capitalism mode. If it breathes, moves, or grows within 5 kilometers of my house, and someone somewhere will pay money for it, I'm interested. 7 mouths to feed. No job. No savings. Just pure hustle energy. Dawn was breaking as I headed down the mountain. The hills were wrapped in morning mist. The grass had turned golden with autumn, and a cool breeze rustled everything into a quiet whisper across the fields. I breathed it all in. Say what you want about 1983, the air was absolutely incredible. Zero pollution. Just pure countryside morning. I dished Wang Chong and walked home. Of course, every early riser in the village saw me carrying 3 fat pheasants, and the gossip engine fired right up. Where'd he get those? Wild pheasants are impossible to catch. Why's he been acting so weird and quiet lately? Must be the firing. Scrambled his brain. Such a shame. If only that boy had some sense. I didn't even register it anymore. Previous life, village gossip ate me alive because I was obsessed with face and reputation. This life, I have exactly 0 bandwidth for anyone's opinion. My entire brain is allocated to feed family, make money, don't be trash. Then I got home and saw her standing at my gate. Fong Lu. Right on schedule. I knew she'd come. Got the news about my firing, rushed over to dump me. Clockwork. But then she spotted the 3 pheasants in my hands, and I could literally watch the calculation happen behind her eyes in real time. The breakup speech she'd rehearsed got shoved into a mental drawer labeled, later, maybe, see, she knew the old me. Old me would have handed her 2 out of 3 pheasants without being asked, just to impress her. Why dump the golden goose before it lays its last egg? 3 pheasants? She said casually, like we were discussing the weather. You caught those? Yeah. Back mountain, last night. Oh, give them to me. I'll have my dad butcher them, just like that. No hello. No. How are you? No. Sorry you lost your job. Just hand over the goods. The audacity was almost artistic. Inside the house, Wenwen was watching through the window, absolutely seething. I could feel her rage energy from 50 meters away. She was doing mental math. He better not give her all 3. 2 maximum. We keep 1. Minimum. Her second aunt was holding her back. Don't interfere. It's his relationship. If you go out there, you'll ruin everything between them. Wenwen squatted on the ground, radiating pure fury at the pheasants she was about to lose. Fong Lu walked up and reached for the birds. Come on, give them here. My dad hasn't left for work yet. I pulled them away from her hand. She blinked. What? You don't want to give them to me? One of the pheasants chose this exact moment to sober up from its alcohol coma. It looked around, realized it was in the hands of a human, and went absolutely berserk, pecking my hand like a tiny feathered jackhammer. And these wild pheasant beaks are not like chicken beaks. That genuinely hurt. I grabbed its neck and snapped it sideways in one motion. 90-degree angle. Instant silence. No hesitation. Fong Lu went pale. Fair enough. She came here expecting pushover Xiaodong who'd hand over everything with a dumb grin. Instead, she got a guy who just executed a bird mid-conversation with the energy of someone cracking his knuckles. I looked at her. I was going to come find you yesterday, but since you're here, let's get this done. You came to break up with me, right? Fong Lu's eyes went shifty the second I said, break up. She was still calculating how to walk away with my pheasants and her dignity. Classic move. Dump the boyfriend, keep the poultry. But I'm not old me anymore. Old me would have stood there like a sad puppy while she delivered her rehearsal speech and walked off with 2 birds under her arm. New me understands the ancient art of breakup warfare. Whoever says, we're done, first, wins. So before she could even open her mouth, I hit her with it. Cool, so we're broken up. Don't come looking for me anymore. Her face turned the color of a boiled shrimp. She'd been robbed. That was her line. She'd been practicing it the whole walk over. You can't steal someone's breakup speech. That's emotional theft. She went cold. Chung Xiaodong, you apologize right now. Give me those 3 pheasants, and I'll pretend this never happened. Translation, let me have the birds today, and I'll come back tomorrow to dump you properly when I'm ready. I shook my head. You don't even want me anymore, but you're still scheming to take my chickens? Fong Lu, you've outsmarted yourself. We're done. Don't come back. Turned around. Walked away. She stood there sputtering like a broken engine. Fine. Fine. This is your decision. Don't you dare regret it. Stomped off. From the front yard, Wenwen and second sister-in-law had heard every word. They were standing there looking at me like I'd just defused a nuclear warhead by accident. I handed the birds over to second sister-in-law. 2 live ones. Take them to town with big sis to sell. The dead one with the broken neck, we eat for lunch. Whole family. She took them carefully, then whispered, Xiaodong, should you maybe go apologize to Fong Lu? No. No going back. You guys are the only people who matter. Then I went to the storage shed to start making bamboo traps, because I had weasels to catch and money to make. Second sister-in-law stood there holding 3 pheasants, completely lost. She looked at Wenwen for help. Wenwen said, I'll go talk to him. She found me in the shed, working on bamboo strips. Her voice was weirdly soft. She actually called me little uncle for what might have been the first time in our entire lives. That word hit me like a truck. This girl who'd never respected me, never acknowledged the family connection, just called me by my title voluntarily. My chest hurt. You're not upset about Fong Lu? She asked. You should be thrilled, I said. And she was completely honest about it. Yeah, I am happy. She was my friend first. If you married her, she'd become my aunt. Do you know how weird that is? The whole village would laugh at me. I pointed out her logical flaw while splitting bamboo. Wenwen, think about it. You're only 1 year younger than me. Every girl my age in this village is your friend. No matter who I date, she becomes your aunt. Are you saying I should never get married? She froze. This had genuinely never occurred to her. You could see the realization slowly downloading into her brain. Oh, well, what do we do about that? Blame your grandparents. They were over 40 when they had me. That's why the generations got scrambled. Don't say that. Grandma wasn't wrong. Fine, I'll find someone from another village you don't know. Problem solved. Deal. What are you building? Traps. For pheasants. I lied. They were for weasels. But if I told anyone in this family I was planning to hunt yellow spirits, the mystical creatures everyone believed would curse your bloodline for 7 generations, they'd physically tackle me to the ground. Big Sis would march up that mountain and burn the traps herself. So, pheasant traps. Nobody questions pheasant traps. We actually talked. Really talked. First time in 2 lifetimes. It was nice. Weird, but nice. Around noon, second sister-in-law came rushing back from town, frantic about my emotional state. Lost his job and his girlfriend in 48 hours. Surely the boy is crumbling. All 3 sisters-in-law took turns hovering around me like I was a patient in intensive care. I kept repeating, job's gone. So what? I'll fish and hunt. Girlfriend's gone. So what? I'll find another one. I genuinely didn't care about the boat job. In my previous life, that whole dredging unit dissolved next year anyway. Everyone got laid off. I was just ahead of schedule. But convincing 3 worried mothers-in-law that you're fine is like convincing the ocean to stop being wet. They simply refused to believe it. That afternoon, I set my bamboo traps on the back mountain for the weasels, pheasants, and went back to the sluice gate with more rapeseed cake to fish. Meanwhile, back home, The three sisters-in-law were holding yet another emergency summit about what to do with Xiaodong. And that's when big sister-in-law Wenli dropped the bomb. She looked at little sister-in-law Xinla and said, with complete seriousness, "Xinla, why don't you date Xiaodong?" Record scratch. You and fourth brother never had a real marriage anyway. No marriage certificate. He didn't even agree to it. Xiaodong needs someone right now. Make the sacrifice. Second sister-in-law's jaw hit the floor. Then, slowly, the pieces clicked together in her head like a detective solving a cold case. Xinla wasn't actually a Chung family wife. Not officially. Fourth brother had refused the arranged match because her parents were labeled rightists during the political movements, toxic by association. A village grandmother had felt sorry for the beautiful, educated orphan girl and asked my father to take her in. Dad agreed because he was kind. Fourth brother fought it until the day he died. Then all the men drowned, and big sister-in-law could have sent Xinla away. Instead, she insisted that Xinla was family and brought her home to live together. And now, years later, the master plan was finally revealed. Wenli hadn't kept Xinla around out of pure charity. She'd been playing four-dimensional chess this whole time, saving an educated, kind, same-age girl in the family roster for me. Big sis was playing matchmaker from day one, and nobody saw it coming. Second sister-in-law sat there having her mind blown, doing the math. Same age as Xiaodong, beautiful, educated, gentle personality, technically single, already living in the house. She looked at Wenli. Wenli looked back. The scheming energy between them could have powered a small city. Somewhere at the sluice gate, completely unaware that my love life was being arranged by committee, I was throwing a fishing net at water and thinking about weasel pelts. Meanwhile, back at camp, when one was doing a happy dance. If little sister-in-law Xinla became my girlfriend, that meant no outside girl would ever become her aunt. Problem permanently solved. The kid was treating my love life like a chess game, and she'd just spotted checkmate. Xinla herself was a deer in headlights. She's the type who physically cannot say no to people, and now two older sisters-in-law were tag-teaming her with a marriage pitch she never saw coming. Her eyes were darting around like a trapped bird. She didn't get to say a single word the entire discussion. The committee had already decided. They sent Wenwen to test the waters with me. I knew none of this. I was at the sluice gate, completely unaware that my romantic future was being decided by a panel of women I hadn't consulted. The fishing was trash anyway. Word had gotten out about my Mandarin fish haul yesterday, and now half the village was camped at the sluice gate with spears and rods like it was a fishing tournament. The fish had basically checked into witness protection. Little Ñoño was with me, looking up with those big eyes. "Uncle, aren't we catching fish?" I squeezed her cheek. "Too many people today, baby. Fish are hiding." Oh, the disappointment on that tiny face could break steel. I packed up, scooped her into my arms, and she wrapped herself around my neck like a koala. Little face pressed against my skin, eyes watching the world go by over my shoulder. She couldn't even remember her dad's face anymore. Since she could form memories, I was the only man in the house. To her, I wasn't uncle. I was the closest thing to a father she'd ever have. And in my first life, I'd been completely worthless to her. Cool. Love that for me. Really adds to the guilt collection. Instead of going home, I carried her up to the big levee. The view absolutely wrecked me. On one side, golden rice paddies rolling like waves under the late sun. On the other, the wide river, smooth as a copper mirror, with fishing boats cutting across it trailing long V-shaped wakes that glittered like scattered gold coins. Beyond the river, hundreds of thousands of acres of reed marshes stretching to the horizon. This was East Tingu Lake in 1983, and it was devastatingly beautiful. Fishermen were walking to their boats carrying metal lunch boxes, heading out for their nightly run into the reeds. They'd fish until 5 or 6 a.m., come back loaded, and by 8 o'clock, buyers from work canteens, school kitchens, and restaurants would be lined up to purchase. These fishermen were the village aristocrats. Meat at every meal, walking around with their backs straight and their chins up. Everyone envied them, because they had boats. That was the whole difference between eating rice and eating air in this village. Boat equals money. No boat equals me, standing on the levee holding a 5-year-old, doing math in my head. I went to find old Zhou Kaizheng, the only man in 10 miles who could build a proper wooden fishing boat. Old Zhou was sitting on his boat in rolled-up pants and liberation shoes. looking like a grumpy river god. He'd been best friends with my dad. They used to play chess under the village tree all day, which meant he felt fully entitled to verbally destroy me. I told him my plan. He looked at me like I'd just proposed building a rocket. A 10-meter boat needs 10 cubic meters of cedar wood, minimum 1,600 yuan, plus boat nails, tung oil for waterproofing, labor costs. You're looking at 2,000 yuan easy. Can your family scrape that together? Stop wasting my time. Then he really warmed up. Your father died too early. That's your problem. If he was alive and saw you acting like this, he'd beat you to death. Useless. Absolutely useless. Lost a government iron rice bowl in months. Spent every paycheck showing off to strangers. I've never seen anyone this stupid in my entire life. Harsh? Yes. Wrong? Also no. I stood there and took it because every word was true and this old man actually cared about me. Uncle Joe, I was set up at the boat unit. It's done. I can't change it. That's why I want to fish the lake, to feed my family. When I save enough, I hope you'll build me a boat. He wouldn't even look at me. Untied his rope, grabbed his bamboo pole, and pushed off from shore. Go back to the boat unit and beg for your job. Lake fishing isn't for amateurs. You think it's just catching fish? You have any idea what's out there? Then he was gone, poling into the reeds. He wasn't just being mean. The reed marshes were genuinely terrifying. Hundreds of thousands of acres of maze-like waterways where people died every year. Bodies never found. Even veteran fishermen sometimes got ghost-walled, trapped in loops where every channel looks the same until you run out of food and water. The lake gave with one hand and took lives with the other. Old Joe was thinking. The Chung family already lost 5 men. This is literally their last son. If I build him a boat and he dies in the reeds, how do I face his father in the afterlife? So he refused. Not from cruelty, from terror. But here's what I didn't know. As old Joe's boat slid into the marshes, his nephew Zhou Jiangwo spoke up. Uncle, when I delivered fish to the dredging boat cafeteria today, I overheard people talking about Chung Xiaodong's case. Old Zhou was still fuming. What? Was he actually framed? Zhou Jiangwo sighed. Don't jump to conclusions. But, if what I heard is true, anyone in his position would have been screwed over. It wasn't his fault. Old Zhou went quiet. He knew his nephew's character, not a gossiper or a liar. Tell me everything. Half an hour later, somewhere deep in the reed marshes, old Zhou's roar echoed across the water like thunder. Those worthless sons of, they think they can bully him because he has no parents? No brothers? Pushed him that far, and he didn't even say anything? That boy just took it like a sick chicken. Tomorrow I'm going to that unit, and someone is giving me an explanation. I'll $100% their ancestors' grave tablets. Old man went from, I won't build you a boat, to, I will personally declare war on your enemies in 30 minutes flat. That's the power of village loyalty. Mess with the kid, get the whole uncle network. Back home, dinner was quiet. I told the family about the boat plan. 2,000 yuan. The number just sat there on the table like a dead fish nobody wanted to touch. 2,000 yuan. For context, my monthly salary on the dredging boat had been about 30 yuan. We currently had maybe a few yuan to our name. 2,000 was not a mountain to climb. It was a mountain on top of another mountain, on fire, surrounded by sharks. Big sister-in-law tried, Xiaodong. A boat. With our situation. She couldn't even finish the sentence. The math was too depressing to speak out loud. I smiled. Actually smiled. Don't worry. I'll figure it out. When that boat is built, this family is headed straight for 10,000 yuan household status. Real good days. I promise. 7 faces stared at me across the termite-eaten table. Nobody believed me. But nobody argued either. Because the guy who couldn't open a fishing net 2 days ago was now catching mandarin fish and drunk pheasants. So maybe, just maybe, the lunatic had a plan. At dinner, Big Sis laid all the money on the table like a financial report. 2 mandarin fish, 5 yuan 70 fun. 2 pheasants, 10 yuan 50. Plus the 37 I'd given Wenwen earlier. She pushed it all toward me. You're grown now. We won't touch your money. Keep it yourself. I looked at Wenwen. I knew Big Sis wouldn't spend my money. She'd guard it like a dragon sitting on gold. But Wenwen, I'd specifically told her to use 1 yuan on face cream. And she didn't even buy it? This girl was so used to poverty, she couldn't even spend money when directly ordered to. My chest felt heavy. I took back the pheasant money, and put the 37 back on the table with instructions so specific nobody could argue. 30 for debts. 5 for my living expenses, 1 for Winwin's face cream. Actually buy it this time. 1 for candy for the kids, rest goes to my boat fund. Then I went to bed. Behind me, I heard Big Sis start to say, family doesn't need living expenses, before Second Sis elbowed her into silence. Don't stimulate him. Right. No stimulating. No stimulating. Little Ñoño sat there holding her rice bowl, looking up at all these weird, stressed adults with zero comprehension. Mood. Midnight. Back mountain. Weasel hunting time. I checked my bamboo traps one by one under the moonlight. First 3, empty. Then I heard a twang sound nearby. Someone was shooting a slingshot. Through the bushes, I spotted a scraggly-looking guy aiming at a bird in a tree. He fired. Hit it. The bird tumbled, flapped, and flew away. The guy scratched his head like a confused dog. Xiaoji. Village, idiot. Another kid who lost his dad in the same flood that killed my brothers. Except I at least had 3 sisters-in-law. This guy had nobody but a younger brother to feed. He wasn't actually stupid, just born simple and honest in a world that punished both those qualities. The village kids called him dumb because he didn't play social games. Nobody hung out with him. Nobody gave him the time of day. Xiaoji, he spun around, saw me, and practically sprinted over. Brother Dong, what are you doing here? Is it true you caught 3 pheasants today? In his mind, I was basically a celebrity. He'd once seen me in front of the town snack shop doing my old stupid move, waving my arm, grandly buying sodas for random people like a small-town emperor. To him, that was peak human achievement, the aspiration, the dream, which tells you everything about how low the bar was in my previous life. I looked at his slingshot. The frame was bent iron wire. The rubber band was a Frankenstein nightmare. Scraps of hair ties girls had thrown away, knotted together end to end. I test-fired twice. No good. Not enough power to bring down a bird. He smiled sheepishly. I'm saving up for real rubber bands. Once I get good ones, I can hit a bird every day and feed my brother. That's the plan. His version of happiness. A few fun for rubber, 1 bird a day. Little brother doesn't starve. That's it. Full contentment. Meanwhile, I'd spent my previous life blowing 30 yuan a month on impressing strangers while children in my house went to bed hungry. The universe really has a way of showing you what a clown you've been. Want to work with me? I said. He froze. Brother Dong, I'm too dumb for. You're not dumb. Your slingshot aim is better than anyone in this village. Who else can even hit a bird in a tree at night? He just stood there, silent, for a long time. This was the first person in his entire life who'd told him he wasn't stupid. And it came from someone he looked up to. I could see something shift behind his eyes, like a door he'd kept locked was creaking open. Okay, Brother Dong, what's the plan? I'll tell you later. Help me check the rest of my traps first. He bounced along behind me like a loyal golden retriever who'd just been adopted. Then we found one. A weasel. Alive. Leg clamped in my bamboo trap. The second it saw us, it bared its teeth like a tiny furry demon from hell. Xiaoji grabbed my arm and yanked. Brother Dong, we have to go. This thing is cursed. Bad luck. Very bad. Please. I shook him off, picked up a stick, walked over, and bonk. Legs went stiff. 2 twitches. Lights out. Xiaoji's jaw was somewhere underground. His entire belief system was recalculating. Then I pulled out a knife and skinned it right there. 3 quick cuts, peel done. Like unwrapping a furry Christmas present. Xiaoji watched his worldview disintegrate in real time. The Great Spirit, the Yellow Fairy, the creature that supposedly cursed families for generations, was lying there naked and pink like a raw chicken. Brother Dong, if we eat the meat, will we get cursed? If this thing could actually curse people, it wouldn't have died from 1 bonk with a stick. And I already took its skin. What's it gonna curse me with? Its bare butt. It's superstition. He poked the meat with 1 finger. That we can really eat it? I gutted it with 0 ceremony. Brutal? Sure. But you know what's more brutal? Watching a 5-year-old show you her flat stomach and say she's hungry. I am completely out of mercy for anything that can be converted into calories or cash. We're so broke we don't own shoes, I told him. What's bad luck gonna do? Make us more broke. Here, take half. He still couldn't do it. Too many years of superstition baked in. I didn't push. You can't deprogram an entire village's mythology with 1 dead weasel. Takes time. We kept checking traps. Most were empty but showed signs of struggle. Weasels had been caught and escaped because bamboo traps aren't strong enough. The mountain was crawling with these things. Everyone was too scared to touch them, so they'd been breeding like crazy for decades. It was basically a free-fur ranch, and I was the only customer. Mental note: need metal traps. Bamboo is amateur hour. By dawn, we'd collected 3 weasel pelts total. Not bad for night 1. We stuffed them in a fertilizer bag so nobody would see and start a village-wide panic about me angering the spirit world. 8 a.m. Town. I walked into a shop, opened the bag, and laid out 3 fresh pelts on the counter. All fresh. What's your price? Xiaoji stood there watching the shop owner count out money for weasel pelts, and his entire universe collapsed. You mean this cursed demon animal is just a regular animal that people buy and sell? Like a commodity? Like fish? The shop owner inspected my skins with professional interest. 2 big ones, 7 yuan each. 1 smaller, 5 yuan. 19 yuan total. Not bad for one night of bonking weasels with a stick. He knew the county middleman would pay 8 or 9 per big skin, so he was skimming a couple yuan off each. But honestly, I didn't want to make the trip to county, and I definitely didn't want to bring weasel pelts home where my sisters-in-law would see them and assume I'd declared war on the spirit realm. They'd probably hold an exorcism on me. Want to sell the meat too? The owner asked. 8 fun per gene. 8 fun? I could get more nutritional value by eating the money. No thanks, I'm keeping it. Walking home, Xiaoji was having a full spiritual awakening behind me. You could practically hear the gears grinding. Brother Dong, weasels are really just normal? His logic chain was finally connecting. If this shopkeeper handles cursed pelts every day and hasn't died, then maybe, just maybe, the yellow spirit is just a regular animal with good marketing. And our village is infested with them. They steal chickens every night. Everyone hates them, but is too terrified to touch them. Which means free money, just sitting on the mountain, wearing fur coats, waiting to be harvested. I could see the dollar signs forming in his eyes for the first time ever. At the village entrance, I sat down under a tree and split up the supplies. Cut off 4 or 5 liang of pork for Xiaoji, plus a gene of rice, plus 2 pieces of nougat candy for his little brother. He immediately tried to refuse. Brother Dong, your family is bigger. You need it more. I've only got me and my brother. I shoved it into his hands. Take it. Feed your brother a real meal. Come to my house tonight, and we'll go hunting again. Then I walked off. I didn't look back, but I knew he was standing there watching me leave. Probably with that burning feeling in his nose you get right before tears show up. This was a kid the entire village called an idiot. Nobody shared anything with him. Nobody asked him to be part of anything. I just handed him meat, rice, candy, and told him his slingshot skills were the best in the village. Sometimes all a person needs is one person who doesn't treat them like garbage. Just one. A tiny spark. Doesn't fix everything, but it thaws the ice enough to keep going. Now here's where things got spicy at home. I walked up to find my third sister-in-law, Li Fengyan, sitting in front of the house, doing her favorite hobby, being the worst person in the village. Quick backstory. Third brother died in the flood with everyone else. Li Fengyan mourned for approximately 6 weeks, then hooked up with some dude and remarried. Took my nephew Qingtao with her. Since then, she's been dropping by regularly to laugh at my family's poverty like it's a spectator sport. When I had the government job, she shut up for a while. Now that I'm fired? Oh, she was having the time of her life. Christmas came early for Li Fengyan, but today she had a bonus mission. Apparently, some guy from the county had spotted Xinla in town and was immediately smitten. He'd tracked down Li Fengyan as a go-between and promised her a pair of leather shoes if she could make the match happen. Leather shoes. In 1983 rural China, leather shoes were heirloom items. Old grandpas literally put them in their wills. When grandpa dies, these shoes go to you, grandson. She was practically drooling over the commission. So there she was, doing her sales pitch to second sis and Xinla while big sis was out. Ladies, listen to me. Your husbands are dead. Are you really going to waste your whole lives in this falling apart house? Look at me. Remarried. Living the good life? Second sis was doing her polite deflection thing. Remarried life is still just working and living. At least here, we're family. Father and mother-in-law treated us like daughters. I'm staying. Li Fengyan slapped her own thigh in frustration. Xiaoyue, you're too honest. That's always been your problem. And Xinla, you're not even a real Chung family wife. You never had a wedding. Never got a certificate. Why are you staying? Then a tiny voice interrupted. Uncle, you're back. Nyonya came bouncing over like a little bouncy ball made of happiness. I scooped her up and planted a huge kiss on her face. Pulled a nougat candy from my pocket. Her eyes went full supernova. Peanut nougat? Is this for Nyonya? Of course it's for you, baby. And guess what? I bought pork. We're having meat for lunch today. Really? She was vibrating with joy. Pork happened maybe twice a year in our house. Spring festival, and maybe one other holiday if we were lucky. These kids dreamed about pork the way other kids dream about bicycles. Li Fengyan watched all this from her seat with her jaw slightly open. Her internal monologue was clearly malfunctioning. Wait. Last year my son begged this guy for one candy, and he slapped the kid away. Now he's buying candy for Nyonya, and hugging her, and kissing her. He used to hate these kids. What is happening? Shinla and second sis were deeply relieved at my arrival. Not because of the pork, but because Li Fengyan had been cornering them for the entire morning, and they were too polite to tell her to get lost. They rushed over to take my bags. Shinla opened the sack and froze. Xiaodong, why did you buy so much pork? Because, dear future maybe girlfriend that I don't know is being set up for me. I killed 3 weasels last night, sold their skins for 19 yuan, and used part of it on the most pork this family has seen since the last Lunar New Year. But I can't tell you the weasel part because you'll think I've angered the gods and organize a prayer circle. So I just smiled. Li Fengyan, my third sister-in-law, the one who bailed on this family faster than a rat leaving a sinking ship, sat there watching Shinla pull items out of my bag like it was a clown car. 2 jean of pork, glistening with fat. 3 pear-canned fruits. Peanut nougat candy. A big slab of cooking fat. And some mystery meat that looked like rabbit. Her face went through about 17 emotions in 3 seconds. Mouth twitching. Eyes bulging. Saliva practically forming a waterfall. This was the woman who'd stood at our front gate 2 years ago screaming, "I'm not as stupid as you people," before dragging my nephew away to marry some random dude. She'd spent the last 2 years watching our family circle the drain and treating it like her personal comedy show. And now here she was, staring at a pile of food bigger than anything her new household probably had, while the family she'd mocked was about to have a feast. She stood up without a word and walked away. Beautiful. Chef's kiss. No dialogue needed. The pork spoke for itself. I asked what she'd been doing here. Nyonya, bless her zero-filter 5-year-old mouth, immediately announced, "Uncle." She wanted to set up Annie Shinla with a boyfriend. Shinla turned bright red and slapped her hand over the kid's mouth. "Nyonya, don't say that." She glanced at me all nervous and jittery. I frowned. "Don't marry out. This family's days are only going to get better. I can take care of all of you." Then I walked to the well to wash up. Completely missed the look on Shinla's face behind me, which was apparently the expression of a woman whose potential matchmate just got accidentally rejected by a guy who didn't even know he was a candidate. She stood there mumbling to herself, "Big sis wants to set us up, but he clearly doesn't see me that way." Sorry, Shinla. I was thinking about weasel pelts and boat funding. Romance was about 14th on my priority list, somewhere between fix the termite door and learn to throw a net properly. Holy sh. Uncle, you bought canned fruit. How materialized from thin air like he always does. This kid is basically a village ghost who appears whenever food or trouble is nearby. He was carrying an armload of paper firecrackers he'd won from gambling with other kids. And yeah, about that. This 7-year-old was running a small-time hustle empire. He'd bet other kids in iron hoop races and collect scrap metal as winnings to sell for cash. He'd gamble at paper firecracker games and give the winnings to his mom to sell. Every day, this tiny entrepreneur was grinding for the family budget using the only currency available to a 7-year-old, playground dominance. He was also the undisputed king of the village kids, and if anyone disrespected him, they got slapped. If the kid was too big to slap, How would wait until dark and ambush them with a brick. This child was either going to become a great leader or a mob boss, and the odds were roughly 50-50. First of all, I said, if I hear you say holy sh one more time, I'm spanking you. Second, you can have one candy now. The canned fruit waits until your sister gets home. Third, when I make more money, you're going to school. School? Uncle, you might as well kill me. Sheila was watching us from the doorway with a soft look on her face. She and the sisters-in-law had been genuinely worried about How turning into a full-time delinquent. And here I was, shutting him down with one sentence. The kid who terrorized the entire village's children was standing there going, "Yes, uncle. Sorry, uncle," while unwrapping a candy. Turns out the little warlord just needed a man in the house who wasn't afraid to say no. Big Sis and Second Sis came home with actual good news for once. They'd fought for 3 work spots in the upcoming firewood cutting assignment across the river. The village brigade was organizing groups to chop wood in the protective forest, 1.5 yuan per 100 jin, plus you might catch fish on the side. It was the best seasonal gig available. Originally, they only got 1 spot because you needed adult male laborers, and we only had me. But Big Sis went absolutely ballistic on the brigade secretary. "You took every grain of our rice. My family has 7 mouths. How do we survive until winter?" And guilt tripped him into giving us 2 extra spots. Big Sis should have been a lawyer. Or a general. Or both. Even better, the state paper factory was reopening, which meant winter reed cutting jobs with unlimited slots. We could actually survive until spring. Then they saw my groceries, and the mood flipped right back to panic. "Why did you buy so much? Pork is one thing, but canned fruit? Candy? We're not made of money. You eat it, you enjoy it for 10 minutes. Then you poop it out. That's economics, Xiaodong." Second Sis literally said that. Eat well, eat badly. It all ends up as the same poop. Therefore, don't buy nice food. Flawless poverty logic. I spent 20 minutes explaining that feeding your family is not a crime before they reluctantly accepted. Shinla cooked lunch. They rabbit meat, which was actually weasel, but nobody needed to know that, went into a massive stir-fry with green peppers. She also made stir-fried pork with water chestnuts, chili pork, lotus root slices, pickled beans from the crock, pickled cucumber, and fried river shrimp from yesterday's leftovers. The table looked like a restaurant had exploded. Second Sis stared at it with visible guilt. Are we being too extravagant? It's not even mid-autumn festival yet. What if the neighbors talk? Shinla also felt bad. This is my fault. I got carried away cooking. I looked at both of them. When we had nothing, did anyone help us? Not one person. So now that we're eating well, why should we care what they whisper? From now on, this is how we eat. Every day. All 3 sisters-in-law went quiet. Then, in unison, they looked up at my dad's portrait hanging in the main hall. I could feel what they were thinking. He's finally growing up. I cracked open the canned pears. Hao's bowl appeared in front of me at the speed of light. "Uncle." Hee. I gave him 2 pear slices and some syrup. This greedy little. Then he took the whole bowl and put it in front of Nyonyo. "Here, little sister. You eat." "Oh, thank you, brother," she said in her tiny baby voice. I went still. These 2 aren't even full siblings. Hao is big brother's son. Nyonyo is second brother's daughter. They're cousins. But poverty and tragedy had welded them into something tighter than blood. This kid who terrorized the neighborhood, who ambushed bigger boys with bricks, who hustled scrap metal and firecracker winnings. His first instinct with a rare treat was to give it to his 5-year-old cousin. In my previous life, decades from now, when Nyonyo grew up and married into a family that mistreated her, Hao would show up with a crew and kick down the door demanding answers. Every single time. No questions asked. This little punk with the permanent runny nose and the potty mouth and the brick ambushes, he'd burn down the world for anyone he loved. And in my first life, I didn't deserve a single ounce of loyalty from any of them. This time, I was going to earn it. 1 weasel pelt, 1 drunk pheasant, 1 bowl of contraband pork at a time. This life, no repeats. Everyone in this family is going to be okay. I patted Hao's head and sat back to watch lunch unfold. Wenwen was already eating like someone was going to steal her plate, shoving rabbit meat into her mouth going, "So good, so good." Then, between bites, she casually mentioned, "Mom, I saw a weasel again last night. Am I cursed?" Big Sis immediately went full superstition mode. "Again? Go see Granny Wong after lunch and pray to the Buddha. Get that bad energy off you." Shinla, delicately nibbling her rabbit meat, like a princess at a picnic. "Weasels are so evil and creepy. Should we get a talisman for the front door?" Second Sis, also chewing rabbit meat, with great enthusiasm. "Absolutely. We need Granny Wong's strongest one, the 5 Thunder Talisman. Maximum protection." I sat there in complete silence. Because every single person at this table was eating weasel meat. The very creature they wanted magical protection from was currently being digested in their stomachs. The yellow spirit. The Great Fairy. The Cursed Demon Beast. Stir-fried with green peppers and garlic, going down smooth. I told them it was rabbit. If they ever found out, I'd need that 5 thunder talisman for myself to survive the beating. While everyone ate, I found myself looking at Shinla. She really was beautiful. About 5'7", willow leaf eyebrows, a perfectly straight nose. Her parents had been Beijing intellectuals before getting sent here during the political campaigns. Both died. She'd been stuck in this village since she was 8, but you could tell she came from educated stock. In my previous life, I tried to dig up information about whether she had surviving relatives somewhere. Never found anything. Maybe this time I'd ask the rehabilitated intellectuals over in Production Team 7. Some of them never left the village after being cleared. They might know something. I was staring at her, thinking all this, when she suddenly looked up. Our eyes met. She clearly did not expect me to be looking at her. Her face went instant tomato. She dropped her gaze so fast, she almost face-planted into her rice bowl. Lucky for her, the sun had tanned everyone equally, so the blush was mostly camouflaged. I was also suddenly very interested in my food. Thankfully, the awkwardness was nuked by the arrival of the last person anyone wanted to see. Li Fengyan. Back already. This woman left an hour ago looking defeated, and now she'd returned, dragging my nephew Cheng Tao along like a prop. Oh, big sis, little Tao Tao just begs me every day to come play with his brother and sister. I simply couldn't say no. Wenwen's face curdled like milk in the sun. She muttered under her breath, arrived right at mealtime. What a coincidence. Big sis glared at her. Shut it. It's true though, Wenwen shot back. Li Fengyan's new husband was a semi-successful fisherman, owned a boat share, made decent money. So Cheng Tao had absorbed his step-family's attitude like a sponge. 11 years old, and already mastered the art of looking down on poor relatives. Normally when he saw our family in the village, he'd turn and walk away without even saying hello. Big sis, being the saint she was, still greeted the boy warmly. Then made the fatal mistake that she immediately regretted. Tao Tao, have you eaten yet? The second it left her mouth, she wanted to slap herself. Why did I ask that? Li Fengyan pounced like a cat on a mouse. Not yet. Oh my, big sister, look at this feast. All this meat, and it's not even mid-autumn. You all are living large. She parked herself next to Wenwen before anyone could object. Wenwen looked physically ill. Then Cheng Tao walked up to Hao Hao. Get up. I'm sitting there. The table went dead quiet. This kid was 11, 4 years older than Hao Hao, and had been trash-talking him around the village for ages, calling him a poor loser, a nobody. Of course, Hao Hao's response to trash talk was always direct. He dragged Cheng Tao into a rice paddy and beat him up. Every time. But Cheng Tao never learned. He kept coming back for more, trying to pull rank like being older meant something. Now he was doing it in front of the whole family. Power move. Or attempted power move. Hao Hao said nothing. He was scared of his mom intervening. Cheng Tao pushed harder. I'm talking to you. Can't you hear? Open that can fruit for me too. And go get me a bowl of rice. Hao Hao kept his head down. Wenwen was vibrating with rage, but holding it in. Everybody was holding it in. Except Nyonyo. 5-year-old Nyonyo. Zero filter. Zero fear. She puffed up like an angry kitten and glared at Cheng Tao. Are you trying to bully my brother? Cheng Tao sneered at her. Who's bullying him? Are you blind? I said I want to sit here and eat. Nyonyo burst into tears. A 5-year-old girl was crying because an 11-year-old was terrorizing her family at their own dinner table. And Li Fengyan's response? Oh, come on, everyone eat. Kids will be kids. Don't take it seriously. Tao Tao, don't talk to your brother and sister like that. Shinla dear, could you get me a bowl of rice? My goodness, so many meat dishes. She was helping herself to our food while her son made our kids cry. The audacity had reached levels that scientists previously thought were theoretical. That's when I spoke. How? Everyone looked at me. Remember what Uncle told you. When you've endured all you can endure, you don't need to endure anymore. The kid's eyes lit up like I'd just handed him a loaded weapon. Uncle, what did you say? Don't live your life swallowing insults. If you're in the right, and someone comes at you, you respond. Understood. He sneaked a glance at his mom. Swallowed hard. Uncle, I really can. Yes, you said it though? If mom yells at me, you'll back me up? Yes. Authorization granted. Fire at will. Hao Hao stood up and cracked Cheng Tao across the face with an open palm that echoed off the brick walls. You piece of, I beat you up yesterday. Did you forget already? You want more? Cheng Tao tried to fight back, but Hao Hao grabbed his hair, slammed him to the ground, and started hammering him with fists like a tiny MMA fighter who'd been studying ground and pound. Li Fengyan shrieked and grabbed a HOE from the side of the yard. An actual farming hoe, raised it over her head and charged at my 7-year-old nephew like she was going to split him in half. Big Sis saw it and screamed, Li Fengyan, what are you doing? But I was already moving. I reached Li Fengyan in 2 steps and kicked her to the ground before the hoe could come down. Then I stood over her and pointed, take your son and get out. Li Fengyan froze on the ground staring up at me like she'd just seen the devil himself. Good. Let her be scared. Hao Hao, meanwhile, was having the best moment of his 7-year life. He looked at me standing there like an action hero, and I could practically see his brain updating my ranking from Uncle to Supreme Ultimate Uncle God. The worship in that kid's eyes could power a religion. Li Fengyan grabbed her beaten-up son and scrambled away. But she couldn't resist turning around for a parting shot once she was at a safe distance. I must have been blind to ever consider you people family. Cheng Tao is still a Cheng, no matter what. I didn't even raise my voice. Is he though? Didn't you already secretly change his name? She went white. Full ghost mode. How did I know? She and her husband had only been discussing changing the kid's surname. They hadn't even done it yet. Was I psychic? Was I spying? What else did I know? Plenty, actually. Like the fact that Cheng Tao wasn't even my 3rd brother's biological son. Li Fengyan had been sleeping with Wang Jianmin the whole time. That's why she remarried so fast after the funeral. She wasn't grieving, she was going home. And that's why a semi-rich fisherman with a boat would marry a widow with a kid, because it was his kid all along. But I couldn't drop that bomb yet. Not until this family had enough power that people would actually listen. In my previous life, by the time I figured it out, Li Fengyan's family had money and connections. A Mercedes-Benz. Buddies in village government. Nobody cared about the truth. Cheng Tao would come back to the village just to humiliate Hao Hao, and Hao Hao could only swallow it. Not this time. I filed that card away for later. When I play it, it's going to hurt. I heard it from someone. I told Big Sis when she pressed me. Just rumors. Then I shut up. The family knew by now that when I went silent, interrogation was pointless. They went back to eating. Wenwen was too busy inhaling rabbit meat to care about family drama. This is so delicious. Can we have it again tomorrow, every day from now on? I said. And I meant it. Because the mountain behind our house was basically a weasel buffet, and none of these people would ever know the difference between rabbit and cursed spirit animal, as long as I kept my mouth shut. That evening, Wenwen demanded to come hunting with me. Absolutely not. One trip up that mountain, and she'd see me clubbing yellow spirits, and the whole operation would be blown. Sorry, too dangerous, girls can't come. She pouted. I didn't care. Operational security above feelings. Met Xiao Ji at the base of the mountain. First thing he told me, his granduncle beat him with a cane. What happened? Turns out this sweet idiot took the weasel meat I gave him and tried to share some with his elderly granduncle, thinking he was being a good nephew. When the old man asked what kind of meat it was, Xiao Ji, who cannot lie to save his life, told the truth. The old man nearly had a heart attack, chased Xiao Ji around the yard with a walking stick, then buried the meat in front of the house, bought firecrackers, and set them off as an apology to the weasel spirits. Got on his knees and begged the yellow fairy to forgive his grandson's stupidity. Full exorcism. The works. For some stir-fried weasel. So the meat's gone? I asked. Oh no, I dug it back up after he went to sleep. Waste not, right? Brother Dong, it's really tasty, this kid. Can't lie. Can't keep secrets. Will eat cursed meat out of a hole in the ground. I loved him already. You like it? Good. We're eating it every day from now on, and we headed up the mountain together. Now let me tell you what was happening at the Fong household, which I only learned about later, but it's too good not to share. Fong Lu had been moping around her house for days like a deflated balloon. Her mother, Lu Huifong, who was basically an older, angrier version of Fong Lu, finally snapped. What are you doing just wandering around the house? Do some work. Fong Lu flopped down. Mom. Cheng Xiaodong broke up with me. Lu Huifong's face lit up like a lantern festival. Wonderful. That mudwall boy lost his government job. What good is he? You dodged a bullet, but Fong Lu was doing the pouty thing. He caught 3 wild pheasants and didn't give me a single one. Even if we're not dating, he should still be my friend, right? Shouldn't he bless my future? A real man would be generous about it. This logic right here. She wanted the man she was dumping to gift wrap his pheasants and wish her well on her journey away from him. The entitlement was so pure it was almost beautiful, like watching a natural disaster from a safe distance. But Lu Huifeng wasn't listening to the feelings part. Her radar locked onto one thing. 3 pheasants and you got none? You stupid girl. Why didn't you wait a few days to break up? Get the birds first, dump him second. Basic strategy. Also, I heard his work unit gave him a month's wages plus 10 yuan severance. Where's that money? Tell me you at least got some of it. Don't tell me that leech Lu Mingliang took it all again. Fong Lu's eyes went wide. What? He got paid. He didn't tell me. Lu Huifeng's blood pressure went through the roof. She literally squatted on the ground, clutching her chest. You brainless girl. You broke up without grabbing a single FEN? How did I give birth to something this dumb? She was having a genuine medical event over the lost revenue of a breakup. This woman treated relationships like investment portfolios, and her daughter had just sold at an all-time low. Then, perfect timing. 2 villagers walked past gossiping at full volume. Did you hear? Cheng Xiaodong caught 4 more pheasants. 4? Fat ones. Absolutely enormous. His family's been eating meat every day now. Fish, pheasants, pork. He's even talking to old Zhou about building a fishing boat. That boy has completely changed. Lu Huifeng started pounding her chest like a gorilla in distress. For more? In the old days, he would have brought us at least 2. We haven't eaten meat in 3 months. And this idiot daughter threw it all away. Fong Lu stood in her front yard, listening to the neighbors talk about the new and improved me, and for the first time in her life, felt actual regret. The guy she'd been planning to dump had dumped her first. The guy who used to hand over everything now wasn't sharing a single feather. The useless loser was suddenly the village's most productive hunter. And she was standing in a meatless kitchen with a mother who was having a cardiac event over lost pheasants. Somewhere on a dark mountain, completely unaware of any of this, I was clubbing my 5th weasel of the night and calculating how many pelts it would take to buy a boat. Life was getting better. For me, anyway. Business was booming. I'd improved the bamboo traps overnight, and the results were spectacular. 6 weasels and 4 drunk pheasants in one haul. Gave 1 pheasant to Xiaoji because the kid deserved it. Sold 6 weasel pelts at 7 yuan each, 42 yuan. Then haggled the shop owner up from 250 to 3 yuan per jean on 3 pheasants. 10 jean total, 30 yuan. 72 yuan. In one night. For reference, a factory worker in our town made 20-something yuan per month. A factory manager made 30-something. I just out-earned both of them combined while they slept. The weasel and drunk pheasant industrial complex was fully operational. We swung by the timber yard after. Cedar wood, the only kind you can build a proper boat from, was running 160 per cubic meter. I did the math. With my previous earnings plus last night's haul, I had 106 yuan saved. At this rate, 1 month of aggressive weasel genocide, and I'd have enough timber money. The boat dream was actually possible. At the supply store, I went on a shopping spree. 1 tin of Halle face cream for each sister-in-law, and 1 for total. A tin frog toy for Nyonyo because she'd been staring at other kids' toys like a puppy at a butcher shop window. A box of marbles for Hao Hao, and several big bags of salt, because I had way too much weasel meat to preserve and it'd rot without salting. Yes, I was buying industrial quantities of salt to pickle rabbit meat. Nobody in my family would ever question why we suddenly needed 10 pounds of salt. Hopefully. Walking home, I started scheming about second sister-in-law's pickled vegetables. Xiaoyue made incredible dried chilies, dried string beans, and especially her dried mustard greens. Absolute legends. You take fatty pork, chop it up for broth, drop in her dried mustard greens, and 1 bite gives you that feeling of the sun warming your entire body from the inside. Problem was, she made tons every year but just gave it away to neighbors because nobody thought to sell it. Of course nobody in our tiny town would buy it. Every household made their own. But the county was different. Bigger factories, better salaries, city people who missed country food but whose rural relatives couldn't visit often. They'd pay real money for quality pickled vegetables. Mental note. Explore the pickled vegetable export business. Second sis doesn't know it yet, but she's sitting on a gold mine made of fermented cabbage. At the village entrance, I checked with Xiao Ji one more time about his pheasant. You sure you're not selling it? He scratched his greasy head shyly. Nah, I want to share it with my granduncle over some drinks. And my little brothers never had pheasant. After this one, I'll sell everything. Promise, sweet kid. Couldn't even keep a gift without feeling guilty about it. I told him to go home and sleep. Then Fong Lu appeared, stomping toward me like a small, angry thundercloud. Cheng Xiaodong, are you saying we can't even be friends anymore? You're so petty. I just broke up with you. That's all. I stared at her. Every time I interacted with this woman, I discovered new depths of delusion I didn't know were humanly possible. She was like a case study in a psychology textbook that hadn't been written yet. Correction, I said flatly. I broke up with you. You still haven't figured out who dumped who. Xiao Ji, standing behind me, looked like someone had slapped him with a fish. In his mind, Fong Lu was the village beauty queen, every guy's dream girl, and I'd been the luckiest man alive to date her. Now his hero was casually informing her she'd been dumped? His brain needed a reboot. Fong Lu's foot stomping intensified. Even if you dumped me, we can still be friends. Where are those 4 pheasants you caught today? Xiao Ji quietly moved his pheasant behind his back. Not today, lady. Your mom sent you, didn't she? I said. She dodged the question with zero grace. Just give me 2 pheasants and I'll forgive you. Oh, and that Yonghong cream you bought me last year ran out. Buy me another one. Let me paint this picture. A woman who was coming to dump me, got dumped first, is now demanding I give her pheasants and buy her face cream ass. What? A breakup gift? Severance package? Emotional damages? Fong Lu, can you try being a normal person for 30 seconds? You've been dumped. Do you understand that word? Dumped. We have 0 relationship. Why would I buy you anything? Her face went crimson. But, we were together for so long. Don't I deserve some compensation? I actually laughed. 6 months together. I spent over 100 yuan on you. Never even touched your hand. And you think you deserve compensation? Does the entire world owe you a living? Go home. Tell your mom to stop being greedy. It'll ruin her daughter. I walked right past her. Behind me, the volcano finally erupted. Cheng Xiaodong, what do you even have to be proud of? The guys from the state clothing factory are all chasing me. You were the worst option out of everyone. I just wanted 2 pheasants. Even one would have been fine. You won't give me a single feather? She was literally screaming about poultry in the middle of the village road. This was her villain origin story, and the inciting incident was not receiving free chicken. Xiao Ji walked beside me in stunned silence for about 200 meters before finally whispering, Brother Dong, you really jest. She's so pretty though. Pretty doesn't pay rice bills. Xiao Ji, fair point. Somewhere behind us, Fong Lu was still yelling about feathers. Xiao Ji, sweet disaster that he is, looked at me with puppy eyes after the Fong Lu blow-up. Brother Dong, maybe I should just give her my pheasant. You eat that bird. She doesn't get a single feather. I walked home. Xiao Ji went to his place. 2 mud brick rooms that looked like they'd surrender to a strong breeze. His little brother Xiao Jun came running out, spotted the pheasant, and lost his mind. Where'd you get that? My big brother gave it to me. Your big brother? Since when do you have a big brother? Cheng Xiaodong. Holy, bro. Cheng Xiaodong is your big brother? You're on the top 5 list. Apparently the village kids had ranked all the local men into a power hierarchy, like some kind of rural ESPN. Lu Mingliang was number 1, which tells you everything about the quality of that list. I was number 4. In a 7-year-old's mind, his loser brother had just formed an alliance with a top 5 power player. This was geopolitics at the playground level. Xiao Ji's granduncle came over for dinner, but wasn't exactly celebrating. The old man was suspicious. Why was I suddenly showering gifts on his simpleton nephew? Yesterday weasel meat. Today a fat pheasant worth nearly a whole yuan bill? What was my angle? Was I grooming his grandson for some kind of scam? Fair concern, honestly. In a village where everyone's hustling to survive, free generosity is either sainthood or a trap. And I didn't exactly have a track record of sainthood. The village was split on the new me. Half the people were saying, give it a week, he'll go back to being a clown. Leopards don't change their spots. The other half were starting to think maybe the leopard actually got a personality transplant. Either way, I was the most discussed topic in the village, which was annoying, but also, no electricity, no TV. What else were these people going to talk about? Now here's the part one didn't find out about until later, but it's the best thing that happened all week. Old Zhou Kaizheng, the grumpy boat builder who'd told me to get lost 2 days ago, had been doing his own investigation into my firing. Turns out the truth was exactly what I'd said. I was framed. Some town bigshot wanted to slot a relative into the dredging boat crew. No openings. So they cooked up a scheme, had a kitchen guy named Zhang Dagua accuse me of stealing meat from the cafeteria. Boom, fired. Spot opened. Relative hired. Classic small-town corruption. And I was the sacrificial lamb because I had no parents, no brothers, and no one powerful enough to make noise about it. Old Joe found all this out and went absolutely thermonuclear. He marched into the dredging boat headquarters with his entire squad of carpentry apprentices behind him like a gangster rolling up with his crew. Walked straight to his nephew Zhou Xingwang, who happened to be the unit's deputy director, and punched him in the face. Zhou Xingwang was sitting there with a fresh black eye writing paperwork while his uncle yelled at him. "Uncle, I'm not even the one who—" "Shut up. Did you or did you not accept gifts from Xin Wenli? You took their cigarettes and liquor? Do you know they borrowed money from the whole village just to buy those for you? See, when my sisters-in-law originally got me the boat job, they'd gone to Zhou Xingwang with gifts. Scraped together money they didn't have, borrowed from neighbors, bought cigarettes and wine as a bribe. And this guy accepted them from a household of widows and orphans. Old Zhou had just learned this and was ready to disown his nephew on the spot. Zhou Xingwang was sweating through his shirt writing a reinstatement order. Old Zhou had literally beaten paperwork out of his own family member to get my job back. But the old man wasn't done. Not even close. He stormed into the boat kitchen like a hurricane made of anger and elderly joints. 12 apprentices behind him. A wall of muscle and loyalty. "Which one of you is Zhang Dagua?" A guy washing vegetables looked up with attitude. "That's me." "What about it?" Old Zhou walked up and slapped him across the face hard enough to rearrange his afternoon plans. "That's from Cheng Xiaodong. Remember it." Zhang Dagua jumped up ready to fight, then saw 12 large men filing into the kitchen behind the old man, each one looking like they'd been waiting all day for someone to give them a reason. "Go ahead. Throw a punch. I'll break your legs and use them for firewood." Zhang Dagua sat back down very quickly. The other kitchen workers suddenly found their vegetables extremely interesting. Nobody saw anything. Nobody heard anything. Everyone knew Zhang Dagua was the one who'd framed me. They'd even warned him not to mess with locals. But he'd wanted to impress the boss, and now an 80-year-old man had just rearranged his face in his own workplace. Old Joe pointed at him one last time. "That boy is coming back to work. If I hear you've touched a hair on his head, I will yindi you. I was fighting wars on this lake with a knife when you were still in diapers." Then he left. Just walked out. Dropped the mic, took his 12 apprentices, and disappeared like a rural godfather who'd finished making an offer nobody could refuse. The reinstatement paperwork was already signed. Zhou Xingwang had written it with his own black eye as a reminder of what happens when you mess with old Zhou's people. As the old man left, someone in the kitchen muttered, "We're outsiders here. Told you not to pick fights with locals." Some people had to learn the hard way. Zhang Dagua stood there holding his face, realizing that the orphan nobody he'd framed for stealing meat had an entire army of boat builders who'd ride into battle for him. And I was at home, completely oblivious, salting weasel meat and doing boat fund math. Sometimes the universe handles your problems while you're busy pickling things. That's just how village justice works. You don't even need to file a complaint. You just need one angry old man who remembers that your grandfather once gave his family rice when they were starving. Debts like that don't expire. Not in the countryside. Not ever. Meanwhile, back at the dredging boat kitchen, Zhang Dagua was spitting on the floor and plotting revenge. "Local people think they're so tough? I'll make you pay for sending your village goons after me." "Yeah, buddy, good luck with that. You got slapped by an 80-year-old in front of your co-workers. That's not a recoverable situation." That evening, Old Joe showed up at our house carrying 2 things, a reinstatement letter for my old job, and the money my sisters-in-law had originally spent on bribes to get me hired. He'd literally shaken down his own nephew to get it all back. But when he walked through the gate, he stopped. Why were there 6 dogs hanging around our front door, including his dog? Then the smell hit him. Meat. Our house, the house that used to smell like poverty and boiled sweet potatoes, was pumping out aromas like a restaurant. The neighborhood dogs had formed a fan club outside our door. He came inside to find us mid-feast. Multiple meat dishes on the table, big fish, the works. And hanging on the wall, strips of salted rabbit Meat curing for later. The old man's eyes went wide. He sat down, slapped the reinstatement papers on the table, and said, I talked to my nephew. Go back to the boat unit. If anyone messes with you, come find me. Everyone looked at everyone. Awkward silence. See, we just finished a family meeting 10 minutes ago where we decided the opposite. Second sis was going to start a pickled vegetable business. I was going to scout sales routes in the county. The boat job was dead to me. Big sis, ever the diplomat, tried. Xiaodong. Maybe you should go back? The lake is dangerous. No, I didn't even hesitate. That job was miserable. Looked good on paper, but every day was backstabbing and politics. Out here I'm free. Nobody tells me what to do. And I'm making more money. That last part was the real argument winner. A few days of hunting had already beaten months of government wages. The iron rice bowl was looking more like a rusty tin cup. Old Joe wasn't angry. He'd been eavesdropping on village gossip on his way over and knew I'd been productive. But he had to ask, so what are you catching up in those mountains? What's making all this money? Rabbits. Wen jumped in before I could open my mouth, shoving a piece of rabbit head meat into Old Joe's bowl. Try it, Grandpa Joe. So yummy. Rabbits? The old man looked skeptical. He'd lived in this village his entire life. Rabbits existed, sure, but they weren't exactly running around in herds. Where was all this rabbit coming from? I sat there sweating internally. Old Joe was a lake fisherman. These people were the most superstitious humans on earth. They wouldn't even flip a fish over on the plate because flipping meant capsizing your boat. If he found out he was chewing on yellow spirit meat, the most cursed creature in the local mythology, he might actually have a stroke right here at our dinner table. But before I could redirect the conversation, he popped it in his mouth. Chewed. Nodded. Pretty good actually. Crisis averted. For now. Then he got serious. You're absolutely sure you won't go back? Absolutely sure. He looked up at my dad's portrait on the wall. Long sigh. Old friends communicating across the void. Fine. Then I'll help you build a boat. My heart jumped. But, can we start with a duckneck boat? A duckneck boat was basically a canoe. One person, tiny, the back end sticks up in the air like a duck's neck. Cheap, maybe 600 or 700 yuan, but also useless for serious fishing. You couldn't carry enough to make real money. No, 10 meters. With a cabin cover, he tried again. What about finding partners? Split the cost with other families? No, every shared boat in the village was a drama factory. Constant fighting over schedules, fish splits, maintenance costs. I wanted my own boat, my own rules, my own profits. Old Joe sighed the sigh of a man who knows he's dealing with a stubborn mule. All right, in 2 months, the village will organize a firewood cutting trip to the protective forest across the river. Keep your eyes open for good cedar trees. I nodded. Free timber scouting on a paid work trip. Now we were talking. When he left at 7, he paused at the door with one final warning. Eat with your doors closed from now on. Your family were landlords, remember? Don't forget where you come from. Eating meat every day like this, people will get jealous. And jealous people in a village with your family's history? That's trouble. He wasn't wrong. In rural China, being a former landlord family was a permanent target on your back. During certain periods, that label alone could destroy you. Even now, in 1983, the stigma lingered. Eating too well, looking too prosperous, someone would eventually report it, complain about it, or use it against you. Not a relative, this old man. Just my dad's chest buddy. But more protective of this family than most blood relations would be. After he left, I grabbed my tools and jumped down into the irrigation ditch by our vegetable plot. Here's the plan. Big Sis had mentioned at dinner that the sluice gate was about to release water. When that happened, fish from the river would flood into the irrigation channels, big ones. Every able-bodied person in the village would be out setting net traps to catch them. We didn't own nets. In previous years, my sisters-in-law would wait for the water to get shallow and wade in with hand scoops, catching maybe 3 or 4 gene scraps compared to what the net owners pulled in. But I had a different strategy. While everyone else was setting nets downstream, I was digging a deep pit in the channel right next to our vegetable garden. When the water rushed through, fish would swim into the pit and get trapped as the water receded. No net required. Just physics and mud. Little Ñoño appeared on the bank, clutching her new tin frog toy, watching me shovel. Uncle, why are you digging dirt? Our neighbor Jiang Dashin, who hadn't spoken to our family in 2 years because of some beef with Big Sis, actually laughed and volunteered an answer. Ate dinner. Nothing else to do. Weird that he was suddenly chatty. I filed that away. You'll see tomorrow night, I told Ñoño. She ran home and came back with a bucket. 5 years old, and she already knew. When adults throw mud, sometimes fish come with it. Poverty teaches you to always have a bucket ready. The digging was brutal. I was drenched in sweat within minutes. But the ditch coughed up 2 black fish, some eels, and some loaches along the way. Ñoño scooped every single thing into her bucket. Nothing wasted. Not a single muddy loach. 2 hours later, I had a beautiful deep pit carved into the channel, perfectly positioned to trap fish when the water came through. Jiang Dashin wandered over to peek at my work, but Ñoño threw herself over the bucket like a tiny security guard. You can't look. Auntie says you're a bad man. 5-year-old loyalty. Absolutely savage. No diplomatic training whatsoever. Just pure, unfiltered family defense. I love this kid. Ñoño ran away from Jiang Dashin clutching that bucket like it contained state secrets, turned around at the front door, stuck her tongue out at him, and yelled, "Not letting you see. This child is 5 years old and already has better operational security than most adults I know." Jiang Dashin tried the guilt trip. "I brought your family a Qian when you were born." She did not care. 5-year-olds do not honor debts they didn't sign. After Ñoño's tactical retreat, Jiang Dashin turned his attention to me. This guy was our next-door neighbor. Hadn't spoken to our family in 2 years because of a dirt boundary dispute with Big Sis over vegetable garden territory. Classic rural feud. 2 inches of soil, infinite grudge. This happens everywhere in the countryside. Families go to war over strips of land you couldn't park a bicycle on. But I knew he was decent underneath. When my brother's bodies were laid out for burial, this man stood there crying. Said something I'd never forget. A full, noisy house goes silent in one day. 5 men gone. What a horrible world. He meant it. He and my 3rd brother grew up together. The feud was with Big Sis, not me. Now he sidled up, all casual. Xiaodong, be honest. Do you and I have any problems? No. Relief flooded his face. Apparently, the whole neighborhood had been terrified that the new silent, brooding version of me might snap and go on a rampage with a kitchen knife. His wife had been losing sleep over it. Then he got to the real reason he was talking to me. "So, I heard you caught 7 pheasants in the mountains. What's your technique?" AHHA. There it was. I knew this wasn't a social call. "Sorry. Classified. But I'm tired. Going home. Don't follow me. If my big sis sees you near our gate, your household won't sleep tonight either." He stood there looking like someone who'd been handed an empty gift box. The second I walked away, Wang Chong popped out of the bushes like a mushroom after rain. These two had been scheming together. Wang Chong couldn't approach me directly anymore. Too obvious. So he'd sent Jiang Dashin as the undercover interrogator. "Well, did you get anything?" Wang Chong whispered. Jiang Dashin was miserable. Not a word. He's a vault. Talked for 2 minutes and left. Did he put pesticide in the rice? Definitely not pesticide. Wang Chong was certain about that at least. But I'm telling you, that pit he just dug in the channel? That's not random. He's planning something. Jiang Dashin glanced at the hole. "You're overthinking it. He's just storing water for winter vegetables." Then he changed the subject. "Didn't you swim across the river yesterday? Catch anything?" Wang Chong's face twisted like he'd bitten a lemon wrapped in another lemon. "I almost drowned." Turns out Wang Chong had done what all the boatless crazies in our village do, grabbed an inflatable tire tube, paddled across the 300-meter river, hiked into the reed marshes, and actually found a ditch loaded with fish. Caught over 10 Gene. Victory. Then on the way back, carrying all that fish while floating on a rubber tire, he hit a hidden current. Nearly died. Had to dump every single fish into the river to survive. 10 Gene of fish. Gone. In exchange for not drowning. "I need to learn from Cheng Xiaodong," he declared. "How did he catch those mandarin fish at the sluice? How does he catch pheasants? If I could learn either one of those skills, I wouldn't have to risk my life being an idiot on a tire tube every week." Jiang Dashin thought he was being ridiculous and walked away. But Wang Chong, this man was a different breed of stubborn. He decided to stake out my house. Hid in the bushes outside our property. At night. In the mosquitoes. Watching my door like a very dedicated, very itchy private detective. I went to bed at 9:30, completely unaware I had a stalker in my shrubbery. Needed sleep. I had traps to check at dawn, and I'd improved the bamboo mechanisms with bait attachments. My gut said tomorrow's haul would be even bigger. Now here's where it gets really good. Wang Chong, crouched in his mosquito-infested bush, eyes locked on my door, saw something at 11 p.m. that made his conspiracy-loving brain explode. Shinla, standing outside my door, in the dark, looking conflicted. She'd raise her hand to knock, hold it there for 10 seconds, then pull it back. Walk a few steps away. Come back. Raise her hand again. Lower it. Repeat. The girl had been sent by the sisters-in-law committee to explore possibilities with me, and she was having a complete nervous system failure trying to actually do it. She eventually gave up and went back to her room without knocking. But Wang Chong didn't know any of that context. All he saw was pretty woman midnight lingering outside a single man's bedroom door equals scandal. So that's why he dumped Fong Lu. Cheng Xiaodong, you dog. You're not as innocent as you look. I've got leverage now. Tell me the pheasant trick or I'm telling everyone about you and your sister-in-law. This man was building an entire blackmail empire from a bush while being eaten alive by mosquitoes. Honestly, the commitment was impressive. He stayed there until 4 a.m. Didn't sleep for a single second. Covered in mosquito bites from head to toe. A human pincushion powered by pure spite and curiosity. At 4, Xiaoji showed up at my door. We grabbed our bags and headed for the mountain. Wang Chong followed at a distance, and what he saw finally broke him. I was taking Xiaoji, the village idiot, on my secret hunting trips. Xiaoji, the guy everyone called stupid. The guy who couldn't even buy rubber bands for his slingshot. This man was my chosen partner for the most profitable operation in the village, and Wang Chong, the expert spear fisherman, the hardest worker around, wasn't even invited. He'd rather take the village fool than me. Then he remembered the gossip. Someone mentioned today that Xiaoji's family had eaten a whole pheasant. The math finally clicked. I wasn't just taking Xiaoji along. I was giving him pheasants. Full birds. For free. Yet when Wang Chong had asked me for one little mandarin fish, I'd acted like he was robbing a bank. He gives that dummy a whole pheasant, but won't give me a small fish. We grew up together. This is discrimination. This is favoritism. He was spiraling in a bush at 4 a.m., covered in welts, screaming internally about the injustice of the pheasant distribution system. And somewhere up the dark mountain, Xiaoji and I were checking traps, completely unbothered, making money while Wang Chong lost his mind in a shrubbery. Life lesson: some people hunt weasels. Some people watch from bushes. Choose your role wisely. Wang Chong followed us up the mountain. I didn't know this yet, but the man had been hiding in bushes outside my house since 9 p.m., survived a mosquito apocalypse, witnessed Shinla's midnight door hovering, and was now tailing us through dark woods on zero sleep fueled entirely by jealousy and spite. On the way up, Xiaoji was ranting about his granduncle again. Apparently, they'd had another fight. This time because the old man told Xiaoji to ditch me, learn my pheasant technique, and go solo. He told me to steal your secrets and cut you out, Brother Dong. I told him that's messed up, and we started throwing punches. I turned and looked at this kid. In a world where literally everyone was trying to extract my methods. Through flattery, bribery, espionage, or guilt trips. This goofy, unwashed, supposedly stupid guy was the only person who said, "No, that's wrong," and fought his own family member over it. I thought about his previous life. In 2002, his cow wandered across the river into the reed marshes. Xiaoji went in to find it. Never came back. His little brother went looking for him. Never came back either. 2 brothers, swallowed by the reeds. The village would bring them up occasionally. Remember the idiot? Even his luck was bad. I took a breath. Patted his shoulder. People are selfish. That's normal. Then I pointed at a sparrow sleeping on a branch. Test your new slingshot. I'd bought him proper rubber bands in town earlier. Real ones, not hair-tie Frankenstein garbage. He pulled back. Aimed. Twang. The sparrow dropped like a stone. He sprinted over, picked it up, and his whole face lit up like sunrise. Brother Dong. I actually hit it. Now you can make money too. His eyes went wet. Voice cracked. Brother Dong. Thank you. Really. I mean it. Why are you crying? Let's go check traps. You get 1 pheasant today. He wiped his face and smiled. That pure, simple, completely uncomplicated smile that made you understand why I picked him over every other hustler in the village. This kid's heart was clean. In a swamp of schemers, he was solid ground. Behind us, Wang Chong was eavesdropping and having a complete emotional breakdown. Another pheasant for the village idiot? I grew up with this man. I've known him since birth. And he's giving free birds to a guy he met 3 days ago? 10 minutes later, Xiaoji spotted one of my traps. Brother Dong. Got one. I ran over. Pulled out my knife. Pinned the thrashing animal with my boot. One stab. Done. Wang Chong crept closer, squinting through the darkness. That doesn't look like a pheasant. What is? Then he saw it. Yellow fur. Beady dead eyes. Still staring. His soul departed his body. Why yellow? Weasel. You're killing weasels? Cheng Xiaodong. Have you lost your mind? This poor man had been holding it together, barely, through hours of mosquito torture, emotional injustice, and sleep deprivation. But watching me stab the village's most feared supernatural creature while it made eye contact with him, that was the straw that broke everything. Xiao Ji, reflexes on point, whipped around and nailed Wang Chong in the leg with a slingshot before anyone could think. Ow. It's me. Your brother Chong. You maniac. I turned around holding the dead weasel by its tail, dripping, eyes still open, and pointed directly at Wang Chong. The look on his face. I wish I could frame it. The dead weasel was staring at him. I was staring at him. Xiaoji was reloading his slingshot. It was like a horror movie directed by the Three Stooges. Wang Chong's superstition override kicked in at maximum power. The weasel's open eyes were looking right at him. It knew. It knew he was there. He screamed like a man who'd just seen his own ghost and bolted down the mountain. Cheng Xiaodong, you've gone insane. You're killing spirits. I'm cursed. Oh God, I'm cursed. It wasn't me, great fairy. I just looked. One look. Please don't haunt me. Different guy? Wrong address. He was screaming his legal defense at the spirit world while sprinting through bushes in the dark. Full panic. Complete meltdown. Xiaoji scratched his head. Is he okay? Why's he that scared? Superstition. You were the same way 3 days ago. Yeah, but I got over it. That thing isn't a spirit, it's groceries. I've been eating full meals since we started hunting these. If anything, weasels are lucky. Hard to argue with that logic. I started skinning while Xiaoji held the legs. Professional operation now. We were a 2-man weasel processing unit. From today, I told him, use your slingshot on them too. Whatever you kill, those pelts are your money. Save it. When I build my boat, you're buying in as a partner. Partner? It means we share the boat. And the profits. His eyes went huge. Nobody had ever offered this kid a stake in anything. We kept moving through the mountain. Xiaoji was on fire with his new rubber bands, popping sparrows off branches like a sniper. We also spotted a flock of night herons, massive birds worth more per gene than pheasants. But they heard us coming and scattered. No pheasants tonight either. Can't win every time. Overhead, wild ducks honked in formation heading for the reed marshes. Xiaoji looked up longingly. If only we could get those. Someday, buddy. Someday we'd have a boat, and those ducks would be on the menu. But tonight was a weasel night. Now, Wang Chong. This absolute disaster of a man ran screaming off the mountain straight to Granny Wang's house, the village spirit medium. The woman who ran a small shrine that somehow contained both a Buddhist goddess of mercy and a Taoist god of wealth, because theological consistency was not her strong suit. Every morning, Granny Wang did her dawn prayer rounds, front yard, backyard, east garden, bowing and chanting. This morning, she finished her 3 bows in the vegetable patch, looked up, and there was a full-grown man lying in her cabbage. She grabbed a stick and started whacking. Wang Chong. What are you doing in my garden at dawn? You nearly killed me. Wang Chong woke up crying. Actually crying. Tears streaming, snot flowing, the whole production. Granny Wang, save me. Please. You have to save me. He threw himself through her shrine door and started kowtowing to every deity on every shelf, Buddhist and Taoist alike, hedging all spiritual bets. Great fairy, I didn't kill you. It wasn't me. Please. I only witnessed it. That's not a crime, right? Oh God, please don't curse me. Granny Wang realized this wasn't a prank. Boy, what happened? Wang Chong, through a waterfall of tears and snot, Cheng Xiaodong and Xiaoji. They're killing weasels on the mountain. The old woman's eyes went wider than her shrine doors. And somewhere up that mountain, completely unaware that we'd just become the most wanted spiritual criminals in the village, Xiaoji and I were counting pelts and calculating profit margins. 7 yuan a skin. Doing God's work. Or the devil's, depending on who you asked. Wang Chong ran straight to Granny Wang's house, and had a full spiritual meltdown. The old woman, village exorcist, part-time Buddhist, part-time Taoist, full-time confused, listened to his eyewitness testimony and nearly fainted. He stepped on its head, then stabbed it with a knife. While it was looking at me, Granny Wong hit the floor, kowtowing to her mixed religion shrine like she was trying to set a speed record. Sins upon sins. That boy must be possessed. No wonder he's been acting like a zombie. Something's inside him. She grabbed her ceremonial sword off the wall. Yes, she had a sword, don't ask, and marched toward my house like a tiny elderly ghostbuster. Meanwhile, my family was having a perfectly normal morning. Big Sis was hauling bundles of Raimi from the fields. Wen and Hao were at the Raimi peeling machine doing their thing. Wen pulling fibers through the stripper one strand at a time, neat and careful. Hao, being Hao, was doing 5 at once and lecturing his older sister about efficiency. You're too slow, sis. And why are you peeling them so clean? The buyer pays by weight, not by beauty. Leave some bark on. Makes it heavier. More money. This 7-year-old was teaching his 18-year-old sister about profit margins in agricultural processing. Where did he learn this? Nobody knows. The kid was born with hustle encoded in his DNA. Little Nyonya was doing her part too, waddling back and forth carrying peeled Raimi bundles to the drying poles where Shinla was hanging them. 5 years old, working the production line, not complaining. Just a tiny supply chain manager in patched clothes. Second sis was making breakfast and smoking rabbit meat. I'd been bringing home so much weasel, sorry, rabbit, that we couldn't eat it fast enough. So she was preserving it the traditional East Tinga way, salt cure, air dry, smoke with sawdust, then sun dry. Rows and rows of rabbit strips hanging from the rafters like meaty wind chimes. The whole family was looking at those hanging strips with quiet pride. That was their security blanket. A wall of cured protein that said, "We're not starving anymore." Big Sis came up from the irrigation channel looking puzzled. "What's that giant hole Xiaodong dug in the ditch last night?" Second sis shrugged. "No idea. He was out there for hours." They were also talking about the upcoming land redistribution. When fields were divided 2 years ago, our family got screwed because we had no men, got the worst plots, furthest from water, over an acre less than we deserved. The village secretary had promised to compensate us when the new plots at 5 Hills got distributed. The sisters-in-law remembered that promise like it was carved in stone. But Big Sis sighed. It'll probably be another fight. Last time, she'd nearly gotten hit with a machete when she argued with a man over field boundaries. Shinla still had nightmares about it. "Let's not fight this time," Shinla said softly. "Whatever they give us, we take." Big Sis nodded, then looked over at the hanging rabbit meat and actually smiled. "At least Xiaodong is taking care of us now." Everyone smiled. That wall of smoked weasel meat represented something more than food. It was proof that someone in this family was finally pulling their weight. Their confidence was literally hanging from a bamboo pole, and it was made of yellow spirit. The irony could kill you. Then, Granny Wong arrived, sword drawn, eyes wild, Wang Chong trailing behind her like a traumatized shadow. She burst through our gate and started swinging her sword around the yard doing laps, chanting, spitting spiritual commands at invisible forces. Full performance. Broadway-level energy. Big Sis was bewildered. "Granny Wong, what are you doing? Quiet. Your Xiaodong killed a yellow spirit last night. The vengeful ghost is I in this house. I must purify everything." "What? Killed a weasel? Impossible. Xiaodong would never." The family went into instant panic mode. All 3 sisters-in-law surrounded the old woman, demanding details. Wang Chong delivered his testimony with the gravity of a war correspondent. "I saw it." He stepped on its head, pulled out a knife, stabbed it. The thing was staring at me with its dead eyes. Shinla burst into tears immediately. "How do we save him?" "Granny Wong, please." The other 2 sisters-in-law noticed Shinla crying and exchanged a look. "Oh, she definitely has feelings for him. Look." Even in a spiritual emergency, the matchmaking radar never sleeps. Wang Chong also noticed Shinla crying. He'd never really looked at her before. The rightist daughter stigma made everyone avoid eye contact. But now, watching her sob over my allegedly cursed soul, he suddenly realized. Wow, she was gorgeous. Way prettier than Fong Lu. Gears started turning in that scheming mosquito-bitten brain. He swallowed hard and said, way too helpfully, "Haven't you all noticed? Xiaodong's been acting like a zombie lately. Silent. Brooding. He's obviously possessed by evil spirits. 5-year-old Nuno looked up at him with murder in her eyes. You're the one possessed. My uncle is fine. Nuno, hush. Second sis pulled her back. Granny Wong shoved everyone aside. Let me work. Everyone quiet. The entire family fell in line. Granny Wong performed her full exorcism routine, sword waving, chanting, the works. Everyone cooperated with complete sincerity. What nobody noticed was that throughout her entire sacred ritual, Granny Wong's eyes kept drifting over to the rows of hanging smoked rabbit meat. Just sneaking glances, licking her lips, mid-chant, while supposedly battling dark forces. The old woman was conducting an exorcism and a lunch menu review simultaneously. Spiritual warfare on the outside, buffet scouting on the inside. Those rabbit strips were apparently tempting enough to distract even the divine. I got home late that afternoon, completely oblivious to the fact that my house had been spiritually fumigated. I'd been in town selling weasel pelts, buying silk nets for trapping, and setting up new snares on the mountain. The operation was scaling up. More traps, better traps, bigger hauls. I walked into a yard full of incense ash, scattered rice, and my entire family staring at me like I was a ticking bomb. But I didn't know that yet. In my head, it was just another good day. Pelts sold, nets bought, mountain rigged, money saved, one step closer to the boat. One more night of rabbit for the family. And somewhere in the village, Granny Wong was at home, still thinking about that smoked meat. I walked through my front gate and immediately knew something was wrong. Talismans. Everywhere. Yellow paper slapped on every wall, every door frame, every post. My house looked like a haunted temple had thrown up on it. Before I could process this, Wong Chong burst out of my living room screaming, Granny Wong, he's back. Then a tiny elderly woman came flying at me wielding a sword in one hand and a fistful of wet talismans in the other, licking one with her tongue to make it sticky, trying to slap it on my face. I shoved her back. What is happening? Then the waterworks started. Big sis, sobbing like someone died, Xiaodong. Why did you kill a weasel? What were you thinking, Shinla? Tears streaming, genuinely distraught. Granny Wong, do something. Save him. One. Also crying and calling me little uncle for the second time ever, so I knew this was serious to them. Uncle, we're poor and we don't have food. But you can't kill weasels. Apparently, Granny Wong had been in my house for hours doing a full exorcism. She'd told everyone she could see weasel ghosts flying around our living room. The whole family was convinced I was either possessed by demons or about to be cursed unto the 7th generation. What they didn't realize was that Granny Wong had spotted the food on our dinner table when she arrived and decided to stretch this performance until someone invited her to eat. The flying ghosts were just her dinner reservation system. Time for the greatest acting performance of my second life. I put on my most confused, innocent face. Kill a weasel? I never killed any weasel. The world stopped. Shinla wiped her tears. You didn't. How could he not have? Wong Chong exploded. I saw it. With my own eyes. He stomped on its head and stabbed. I walked inside, set my bag down, completely calm. Wong Chong, do you have evidence? My eyeballs are the evidence. Funny, I said without looking at him. I also saw you sneaking into Widow Lu's house at night. Should I tell everyone that's true too? Just because one person says something doesn't make it fact. You. That's not. The man's brain was short-circuiting. He'd watched me murder a weasel 12 hours ago. I'd cursed at the weasel. He'd screamed at me about it. We'd made eye contact over the dead body. And now I was standing here with the straight face of an innocent baby saying, Weasel? What weasel? Don't know her. He was questioning his own reality. Had he hallucinated? He'd been awake for 22 hours straight, hiding in bushes, eaten alive by mosquitoes. Could it have been a dream? Big sis asked me one more time. Xiaodong, you swear you didn't? If I'd really killed a weasel, the most cursed creature alive, do you think I'd have made it down the mountain in one piece? I'd be dead in a ditch. I'm standing right here. Obviously, I didn't kill anything. Flawless logic. Impossible to argue with. Completely, entirely, 100% a lie. Second sis turned to Wong Chong. Are you sure you didn't imagine it? You look terrible. Did you sleep at all last night? But he. Wong Chong started slapping his own head, trying to reboot his consciousness. Was it real? Was it fake? He couldn't tell anymore. My poker face had broken this man's grasp on objective truth. Granny Wong was in an awkward spot. She'd just spent 3 hours telling my family that weasel spirits were dive-bombing the living room. Now the alleged weasel killer was saying no weasels were harmed. Her professional credibility was on the line. But this woman hadn't survived decades as a village spirit medium without knowing how to pivot. She nodded sagely. Perhaps the weasel spirits targeted the wrong house. Xiaodong, stay away from the mountains for a while. There are unclean things up there. Beautiful recovery. Blame the ghosts for bad navigation. 10 out of 10. Sure thing, Granny. Now come eat. I'm starving. That was the line she'd been waiting for since she walked in the door. She practically teleported to the table. Everyone relaxed. Crisis over. Family saved from spiritual doom. Wang Chong tried to slink inside for a free meal too, but Wenwen body blocked him at the door. You just accused my uncle of being possessed by evil spirits, and now you want to eat our rice. Get out. She shoved him back and slammed the door in his face. Chip off the old block. This girl. Big sis energy at maximum. Wang Chong stood outside scratching his head, mumbling. Did I really hallucinate? What's happening to me? He shuffled home, covered in mosquito bites, questioning his sanity, having not slept in over 24 hours. Total score for the day, 0 pheasant secrets learned, 1 possible mental breakdown, and permanent exile from my dinner table. Half an hour later, Granny Wong emerged from our house looking like she'd just attended a banquet. Belly full, spirits high. That rabbit meat is delicious. Haven't had anything that good in years, second sis, ever the generous one, sent her home with an extra piece of rabbit. You keep our Xiaodong safe up there. On the mountain, Granny. We're counting on your prayers. The old woman tried to refuse. Genuinely. She wasn't expecting takeaway with her exorcism, but second sis insisted. This family remembered that Granny Wong had helped with the funeral when 5 men died. Real debts, real gratitude. Granny Wong looked over at me, knee-deep in the irrigation ditch, still digging. At least that boy finally has some sense, she said softly. Then she walked home carrying a chunk of weasel meat she believed was rabbit, having just performed an exorcism for spirits she pretended to see, satisfied with a meal earned through theatrical fraud. And I was down in the mud, making my fish trap deeper, listening to Wanwen pester me from the bank. What's the giant hole for? We don't need a swimming pool, you'll see. You always say that, yeah. Because if I told you I was building a fish trap designed to exploit fluid dynamics when the sluice gate opens, you'd look at me like I was speaking Martian. And if I told you what the rabbit meat actually was, you'd need Granny Wong back here for a real exorcism. Some secrets keep families fed. Some lies keep families sane. I was doing both, 1 shovel of mud at a time. Woman asked me if I really didn't kill any weasels. She was calling me little uncle, again, twice in 1 day now. A personal record. I'd waited 2 lifetimes for this girl to acknowledge our family connection, and all it took was the threat of supernatural vengeance. Heartwarming. Nope. Never touched one. Why would I? Lying to your niece's face while wearing a warm smile is apparently a skill I've developed. Add it to the resume. She told me about the upcoming land distribution at 5 Hills. Asked if I'd show up this time. Because last time, when families were grabbing territory and our women were getting bullied by men with machetes, I was home doing absolutely nothing. Didn't show. Didn't care. Didn't even comment afterward. No wonder these kids hated me. I gripped my shovel tight. I'll be there. This time, we don't give up a single inch. What's ours is ours. She looked at me for a long moment, then nodded and went back to work. That nod meant more than any words. Trust was rebuilding, 1 shovel of dirt at a time. The afternoon was domestic chaos in the best way. I finished the fish pit, then made How a matchstick gun out of iron wire and bicycle chain links. Kid was practically levitating with excitement. Stuffed matchhead gunpowder into the barrel, aimed at nothing, pulled the trigger, bang, actual smoke. I finally have a gun, he screamed, then immediately ruined the moment. Holy SH, I smacked his head. Language, I promise I'll stop. Starting tomorrow. Nyonya saw his gun, and instantly her tin frog toy became dead to her. She demanded a weapon too. I made her a rubber band paper pellet shooter, which was technically less dramatic, but actually hurt when it hit you. The 2 of them immediately started playing cops and robbers. How had the cool gun that went bang, but did 0 damage. Nyonya had the quiet gun that left welts. Within 10 minutes, she was chasing him around the yard going, pew pew pew, while he ran screaming because those paper pellets stung. Then his mom came home and beat him again because the little genius had stripped every match in the house of its gunpowder for ammunition. We had no way to light the cooking fire. Big Sis dragged him by the ear while he wailed about the injustice of it all. This kid cannot go a single day without getting hit by someone. It's like a subscription service. That night, Xiao Ji and I went up the mountain, and the bird net trap was even better than I'd hoped. The setup was simple: 6 silk nets, 20 meters each, arranged in a hidden corral with a few jean of grain scattered inside. Birds walk in for food, try to fly out, get tangled. Zero effort after initial setup. Just toss in fresh grain daily and come collect your harvest. When we arrived, the nets were alive with birds. 30-something sparrows thrashing around, 1 massive night heron, and 2 wild pheasants. Xiaoji was doing mental math so fast his eyes were spinning. Sparrows, 30 birds, 6 jean total, for Jiao per jean, that's 2 yuan 40. Night herons, 2 birds, about 2 jean, 350 per jean, 7 yuan. Pheasants, 2 birds, 5 jean combined, 10 plus yuan. 20 yuan from a pile of nets and some grain. And we'd nearly paid back the net investment on day 1. After this, it was pure profit every single day. Passive income, 1983 style. The weasel traps brought in 13 more pelts. 7 yuan each. 91 yuan. One night, over 100 yuan total. Xiaoji was standing there holding dead weasels, looking like a man who'd just been told the earth was flat and he was falling off the edge. In his entire life, he'd never had more than a few yuan at once. Now he was participating in a nightly operation that generated what factory workers made in 4 months. In town the next morning, the shop owner was starting to get suspicious about my weasel supply. Did you find their secret base? How do you keep bringing this many? Just lucky. Probably won't last much longer, he was right to wonder. Weasels are territorial, 1 litter per year. The mountain's population couldn't sustain this rate forever. A few more days of heavy harvesting and the supply would drop. Which is why the real money was in the bird operation, renewable, sustainable, and requiring almost no labor once set up. Long-term plan was still the boat. Everything else was just funding rounds. I also gave the shop owner a chunk of Second Sis's smoked weasel meat disguised as jerky to taste test. He chewed it thoughtfully. Tastes like regular cured meat, honestly. Think anyone would buy it? Let me ask around. If we could sell the meat on top of the pelts? That's double revenue from every single weasel. The whole animal monetized, head to tail. Nothing wasted. Industrial efficiency applied to supernatural pest control. We set up shop in the market to sell the birds. 30-plus sparrows, 2 night herons, pheasants, laid out on a cloth like a poultry department store. People swarmed immediately. Our regular customer appeared, an old man in a worn-out Mao jacket who bought a pheasant from us every time. He squatted down, eyeing the night herons. These are hard to catch. Where'd you get them? Alive too. I gave him my standard answer. Just lucky. Nobody ever bought it, but nobody could prove otherwise. We haggled the night heron down to 350 per jean, and he walked away happy. Then more customers piled in. The sparrows moved fast. The pheasants moved faster. Money was flowing in. What I didn't notice, because I was busy being a professional bird merchant, was someone standing at the edge of the crowd, staring at me with their mouth hanging open. Hey, isn't that Qing Xiaodong? Where did he get all those birds? And the voice next to them. Yo, Mingliang, come look at this, Lu Mingliang. My old brother, the professional mooch. The guy who owed me 60 yuan and spread lies about me stealing from the boat unit. The guy who'd told Fong Lu's parents I was a thief before I'd even unpacked my bags. He was watching me count money at a bird stand, surrounded by customers, and his brain was doing exactly one calculation. How do I get a piece of this?